Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is part 1 of our story. If you like this what if story and want to see part 2, let me know in the comments below. Before we start, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends. Also, check the description for more great content and my playlist. This story was posted by 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 on Wattpad. Now let's start. Third POV Black Void. 9 years ago, teen 𝗏𝗏𝐿. The dark void fills with a crimson hue as an adolescent voice speaks up. When I was a little kid, I had dreams of flying high above the clouds. Running faster than even the fastest supercar, lifting things not even superheroes in comics couldn't, and even shoot brilliant blasts that could destroy any bad guy who came my way. The crimson hue is revealed to be a crimson ember within the dark space. But these were just childish desires, though whenever I felt them, I always got this sparking feeling. Almost electric whenever I felt strong desires. But that was until I got my quirk. The ember gains a black crackle of electricity. Tatsuma home. Still 33rd POV. Same time the view pans out of the black void to reveal a little boy with blonde hair and a mouth that ends at the hinges of his jaw. His smile revealing sharp teeth and small scaly patches are seen on his skin along with spines poking out his shirt on his back. His red eyes glow as he draws. The childish picture showing him on the back of a white scaled dragon while 2 figures stand and watch with smiles on their face. 𝗏𝗏𝐿 smiles proudly at the drawing. Ryuko's gonna love this. He hears a car pull in and it's revealed that he had been drawing on the floor by entrance, which was 2 large wooden doors to a large home surrounded by an estate. She's back from school. He turns to the doors and smiles expectantly, jumping slightly. Ryuko. The doors open to reveal a girl in school uniform who seems tired. What a day. She looks down and sees 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. I smile widely at her and run over, hugging her legs. Ryuko. I rub my cheek against her clothes as she crouches and returns the hugs, before pulling back, asking curiously, "How was your hero school?" Ryuko. She chuckles softly and runs her fingers through his hair. "It was good. I did training today. Lots of other students thought my quirk was really cool, but I don't see it." She smiles and tilts her head, being humble as always. 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 pouts. What? He holds onto her shoulders and yells, "Your quirk is totally cool. You can fly, you're really strong and fast, and you will take bad guys down like easy with it." He punches the air, like this. He punches with a determined expression. Ryuko. She chuckles and covers her mouth to stifle it, before putting a hand on his shoulder. Okay, I'll take your word for it." She looks at the drawing in his hand and perks up. "Oh, what's that?" 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. He turns it to her and smiles. "I drew it for you. It's me and you as heroes while mother and father watch us. Now that I have my quirk, I can train with you too and then join a hero school." He watches her pack of excitement. "What's wrong? Don't you like it?" Ryuko. She pulls herself from her thoughts and sighs, forcing a smile as she takes the drawing. "No, of course I like it. It's a very nice drawing, 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. I love it." She hugs him again and stands up again, holding his hand. "Come on, let's go get ready for supper." 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. I chuckle and nod. "Yeah, mother and father will be upset again if we mess around again. Mainly mother." They 2 siblings walk down the hall. Ryuko. She speaks while walking off with him. "Did mother and father sort out those IDs who were messing with you at school?" They continue down the hall. 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. He nods. "Aha, they spoke to my teacher. I just hope they stop making fun of me." He says, a little nervous and hurt. Ryuko. She smiles. "If they don't, I'll come and sort them out for you, okay, little brother?" She smiles down at him, 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, looking carefree and happy while Ryuko looks away and her expression becoming sad and slightly cold. Time skip. Later that evening. Still 33rd POV Tatsuma home. Dining room. 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 and Ryuko are sat beside each other at the table while across from them are their parents. Their father Ryuji, a stoic and stern man with black hair and intense yellow eyes, and their mother Ryuka, a cold and often cruel woman towards 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, but Ryuko's doting mother who's currently giving her daughter a look. 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. He was eating, not noticing his mother's disgusted glare, before he looks to his father. "Father, can I ask you something?" "Father." He looks at 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 and replies coldly, "If you must." 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 smiles. "When I'm older, can I go to hero school like Ryuko? And go to her quirk training? I want to be a hero when I grow up." Ryuka nearly chokes on her water and slams the glass down, glaring at Ryuko while Ryuji closes his eyes. Draken looks around. What? Ryuko. She puts a hand on Draken's shoulder. Maybe we can talk about this another time, okay, Draken? You just recently found out about your quirk, and you're still young. You might change your mind when you're older. She had a bit of sweat on her cheek, squeezes his shoulder slightly, almost as if trying to make him shut up. Draken. He shakes his head. No, I won't. I want to be a hero, like you and father. I have my quirk. He looks down knowing full well how they feel about his quirk. I know it's not strong like yours. But dash. Before I could finish, I heard Mother's scoff. Mother. She looks to Draken with anger. What are you talking about, boy? I've told you before, you won't become a hero. All you would do is embarrass your sister and our family. She says cruelly, Draken's heart aching. Ryuko. She speaks up, Mother, please. Her mother gave her a look, as if telling her something with that look as she sighs and looks to him. Draken, I want you to listen to me, okay? Draken. He looks to her, knowing his big sister would have his back, even if his mother didn't. Yes. Ryuko. She spoke sternly with a cold expression. You can't be a hero, Draken. Draken's heart broke, his expression distraught with underlying betrayal. Mother is right. With your quirk, you will only get yourself hurt, and your appearance, the public won't be kind to you. You will only put me in the eyes. Teen Draken. Draken older voice speaks again. When I was a kid, I had my dreams crushed by the one person I thought I could trust. But it's true what you hear in movies and comics. You really can't trust anyone. The black voice is seen again, a black crackle arcing constantly as a beating is heard, a raging crimson flame within the area. Draken. He started to tear up, his hands clenching his breathes, but I wanted to be a hero too. He looks to Ryuko, who maintains her expression, and then his mother, who's staring cruelly at him, followed by his father, who is as stoic as ever. I have a quirk too. Ryuko. She narrows her eyes a bit. I'm sorry, but it can never happen. You will never be a hero, Draken. And that's just how it is. Mother. She speaks up. Listen to your sister, boy. She's the one who is carrying our family on her shoulders. Respect her words. Draken's tears flow down his cheeks, his pupils shrunk in his head and his scales forming across his skin. Instinctively. Draken. I push off the chair and ball my fists. Fine. I won't be a hero. I hate all of you. You're the worst family ever. I turn and run off. You'll never be my big sister again, Ryuko. You're just like them. Ryuko. She tries to go after him. Draken, you must listen to me. Father. He speaks up. Stop. Ryuko stops, pulling her hand back to her chest and holding back her sobs. He's just a child. He needs to come to terms with this on his own. Ryuko. He will realize his place. Ryuko. She watches Draken disappear down the hall and thinks to herself, just like them. She looks down. I'm so sorry, Draken. Draken is seen running and going into his room. He stands there and looks at the desk there, running over and grabbing all his drawings of him and Ryuko before he starts to tear them all up, the grunts and groans all being heard in unison with ripping and tearing sounds until the pieces all lay on the floor as he breathes heavily, tears still dropping from his cheeks, his eyes glowing crimson, before they crackle with black electricity and his scales flicker across his skin. 9 years later, still 33rd POV. Tatsuma Estate. The estate is seen with appealing greenery and some trees around the modern Japanese mansion. Within one of the home's rooms, an alarm clock goes off, revealing the room to be a gray coat of paint with wooden floors and a large bed with an outline of a person. Draken. POV. Draken. I hear the alarm and groan. Could your batteries have died overnight? The alarm clock blares again as I sigh and sit up, my hair messy as usual, before slumping over my eyes. Better. I turn in bed and hit the top of the alarm clock, stopping the alarm driver. There's a knock at the door that startles Draken, making him jump and his scales flickering across his skin, followed by a mature voice through the door. Draken. Are you awake? You're going to be late. Draken. I scratch my cheek and speak up. Yeah, I'm up. Just let me get done. I yawn widely and stretch. Driver. He replies, I will be outside in the car. His footsteps are heard as they fade away and Draken huffs. Draken. I hear my phone vibrate. 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫. I look over at my dresser, reaching for my phone beside the alarm clock and checking it, seeing multiple unread messages from Ryuko, which I just clear, 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫. I see another message from 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐵's message. 𝐿𝐴𝐻𝐾𝐮 imagines his overbearingly loud voice, 𝐿𝐴𝐻𝐾𝐮. I hope you are not coming late to school again. If you hope to impress your peers and teachers, it's optimal to have perfect attendance. I hope to see you soon. 𝐿𝐴𝐻𝐾𝐮 sighs heavily. 𝐿𝐴𝐻𝐾𝐮. I stand up and stretch out. Are you sending a text or writing me a letter, 𝐻𝐻𝐾𝐮? I move over to my closet and start to get dressed into my uniform. Short time skip still. 𝐿𝐴𝐻𝐾𝐮 POV Tatsuma home. I was dressed up in my middle school uniform and left my room, walking through the halls, my backpack straps on both my shoulders as I put my phone into my pocket and look ahead, freezing in place to see my mother's personal room door open. I take a deep breath and try to walk by slowly, peeking to see her sitting by the tea table in the room. Mother. As 𝐿𝐴𝐻𝐾𝐮 tries to pass, she speaks. Up, 𝐿𝐴𝐻𝐾𝐮. The boy freezes and looks over to her while she has her back facing to him. 𝐿𝐴𝐻𝐾𝐮. I reply, yes, mother. I say that title with underlying disgust, hating having to call her that. Mother. She stands up and turns to him, giving his a disgusted and cruel look. Have you returned your application to that silly computer school? I'm surprised you even had the grades to get in, but I suppose we can't all fail at everything. 𝐿𝐴𝐻𝐾𝐮. I clench my fists and my jaw, before replying, releasing the tension in my body. I'll hand in the form today. I think to myself, the only reason you're asking is excuse is you think I'll apply for some hero school. It's not like I ever trained my Quirk to qualify. I turn and walk off. Mother. She replies in a satisfied and almost smug tone, good. It's the least you could do for everything your father and I have done for you. She watches 𝐿𝐴𝐻𝐾𝐮 walk off and returns to her room. 𝐿𝐴𝐻𝐾𝐮. As I turn the corner, I clench my fists tightly again, my Quirk activating and sharpening my claws as I think, the least I could do. For being fed and given education. I don't need to do anything for your bare minimum. I punch the wall out of frustration, before walking off again toward the entrance. 𝐿𝐴𝐻𝐾𝐮 is seen opening the home's doors and leaving, the wall he punched arcing with black electricity as the doors close, a crack building up it, before the area fades to a black voice filled with a raging crimson flame and destructive discharges of black electricity that shakes the area. 𝐿𝐴𝐻𝐾𝐮. The view of the black void pats out to reveal 𝐿𝐴𝐻𝐾𝐮's chest as he climbs into the car. Oh, and hey, did I tell you that? This story is about how I become the strongest hero of all time. 𝐿𝐴𝐻𝐾𝐮 lays his head back in the back seat, the car leaving the estate gates and driving down the street. 𝐿𝐴𝐻𝐾𝐮 POV 𝐀𝐮𝐬𝐽 Junior Middle School. Same day as the vehicle pulled up with the drive in front, I prepared to climb out, before hearing the clearing of a throat and looked to him in the rearview mirror, his gray beard and hair his most notable feature followed by his dark brown eyes. I sigh, knowing full well what that look means. Driver. He speaks a bit stern, young 𝐿𝐴𝐻𝐾𝐮, you really shouldn't ignore your sister. 𝐿𝐴𝐻𝐾𝐮's eyes flash crimson behind his hair. Don't give me that look. You know I mean well. 𝐿𝐴𝐻𝐾𝐮. I speak freely, comfortable to show my features. I don't have anything to say to her. Driver. He sighs and his gaze goes ahead again. I know you don't. But it's been 9 years, my boy. By continuing to hate them you're only going to hurt yourself. 𝐿𝐴𝐻𝐾𝐮's scales flicker across his skin beneath his uniform. Ryuko just wants to make things right. 𝐿𝐴𝐻𝐾𝐮. I take a deep breath and relax myself again. She's 9 years too late. I take my backpack and get out the car. He rolls his window down and I look over. Have a good day further, 𝐻𝐾𝐮. Driver. He nods. You as well, young. 𝐿𝐴𝐻𝐾𝐮. I turn away and reply, don't call me that. In their eyes, I'm nothing important in our family. I hear the window roll up and the car drive off. I release a breath I didn't know I was holding in, before a memory of that night 9 years ago made me cringe. I can't take this anymore. Voice. 𝐿𝐴𝐻𝐾𝐮. You're early. The voice was strict and assertive. 𝐿𝐴𝐻𝐾𝐮 looked to his right to see an approaching dust cloud which made him tense and lean back in shock. 𝐿𝐴𝐻𝐾𝐮. I yell out, my hand going over my mouth. 𝐬𝐿𝐴. I shielded my face as the dust cloud enveloped me. What the heck, man? The dust cloud cleared and I see him standing at his tall stature before me. 𝐬𝐴𝐴. He starts chopping the air. For the past week you had a series of tardy attendances to class. And you've been distant with everyone, even the teachers. What's going on with you? He leans closer. 𝐿𝐴𝐻𝐾𝐮. I sigh and wave my hand. It's nothing. I've just been really tired lately. I turn and walk toward the school gates. 𝐬𝐮𝐻. He watches 𝐻𝗧𝗏 walk and follows beside him. Are you sure? You've been so on your own lately, even your class work has been falling behind. He says with slight concern. 𝐻𝗧𝗏. I wave my hand dismissively. I'll sort it out eventually. Quit pressuring me. 𝐬𝐮𝐻. He sighs. And what about your application? You haven't handed in and everyone's already applied for hero schools already. Do you even know where you're going with your life? He yells as 𝗧𝗏𝗏's eyes flash crimson through his hair. 𝗧𝗏𝗏. I stop and clench my fists, glaring at him. I've told you before, I'm not going to a hero school. I frown. And don't worry about me, I'll get it sorted, okay? I walk into the school, the first bell going off. Time skip. Class PRD classroom. Still 𝗧𝗏𝗏 POV. I was sat at the very back of the class, not paying attention to the lesson while my own thoughts plague me, making my mind feel clouded as I look down at the application form on my desk. My mind cycles through multiple memories: torment, betrayal, heartbreak, hopelessness, losing motivation, all of it making me feel tired and frustrated. Teacher, he speaks up. Mr. Tatsuma, are you daydreaming in my class again? 𝗧𝗏𝗏 flinches and look up, hearing snorts and snickers around the class as the teacher continues. I'm still waiting on your application, young man. 𝗧𝗏𝗏. I nod. I'll bring it by the end of the day. I say with my hand hovering over my mouth and my gaze down. Teacher. He replies reassuringly, I understand, there's no need to act as if you committed a horrid crime. The class laughs slightly while 𝐬𝐮𝐻 has a worried expression. 𝗧𝗏𝗏. The laughter echoes in my mind as I feel out of place and anxious, my scales forming across my skin as I begin bobbing my leg. I can't take it anymore. Teacher. He speaks up while looking through the forms that were handed in. Right? It seems like majority are signing up for hero schools and 𝗀𝐻𝐻. 𝐬𝐮𝐻. He looks to the boy. You signed up for UA. The class all gasps and looks to him. 𝐬𝐮𝐻. He closes his eyes and stands up from his seat. Yes, sir. UA High is the top school in the country. My brother 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 intended, therefore I will as well. After all, I come from a long line of heroes. He puts his hand to his chest and narrows his eyes. That is why I am working as hard as I can for the entrance exam. Classmate, she giggles. There he goes again. That's 𝐬𝐮𝐻 for you. Classmate 2. He nods. He's lucky. I wish my family were all a bunch of heroes. 𝗧𝗏𝗏 was watching the praise, seeing all his classmates as people with shaded out faces, not memorizing them or their names. Classmate 3. The student sitting in front of 𝗧𝗏𝗏 spoke up, a smile on his face. He's even got a cool quirk to boot. He's a shoe-in for UA, just like his brother. 𝗧𝗏𝗏's hands began to shake, his jaw clenching. 𝗧𝗏𝗏. Their words triggered several unpleasant memories, my mother's voice filling my head. You're lucky you're even part of this family, even though you're a failure. Followed by another, your quirk is useless, you will never be a hero like your sister or father. I felt that deep hatred once more and thought to myself, what kind of cruel joke is my life? The lunch bell went off and pulled me from my thoughts. I grabbed my backpack and left the class school roof during lunch. Still 𝗧𝗏𝗏 POV. I was sitting on the school's roof alone as usual. The school cafeteria wasn't my favorite place in the world. It was filled with people who could look my way, or talk about me without me knowing, so I just chose to be alone for my school career, even though there was this looming person over and over again. 𝐬𝐮𝐻. His shadow cast over 𝗧𝗏𝗏, who jumped in. Fright and looked back. On the roof again I see. 𝗧𝗏𝗏 looks away while he stands with his arms folded, not talking again. He basked in the silence again. I noticed you in class again. You looked deep in thought the whole time. 𝗧𝗏𝗏. I spoke with my hand over my mouth. It's nothing new. I think about a lot of things. 𝐬𝐮𝐻. He looked concerned. Is it perhaps about your parents again? You do know you can tell me if it is. We have been friends since the beginning of middle school. He looks down at 𝗧𝗏𝗏. I huff. It's nothing to worry about. 𝐬𝐮𝐻. He grows frustrated. You can't possibly think I believe that. Since the last year started, you've been growing further and further away. Do you believe I didn't notice my own friend not even talking to me anymore? He frowns. 𝗧𝗏𝗏. I snap back with my gaze down. It doesn't matter, you're going to UA and I have no choice but to go and become some guy sitting in a cubicle, working on a stupid computer. I clench my fist. 𝐬𝐮𝐻. His frown disappears and he looks concerned. What do you mean, you have no choice? Of course you have a choice. 𝐻𝐿. I stand up and put my hands in my pockets while I face away from him. We don't all live in a world where we're destined to be a superhero and born with a strong quirk everyone thinks is amazing. I'm a glorified lizard. There's no chance of me becoming a hero. I'll just prove them right. My fists ball in my pockets. 𝐬𝐮. He watches 𝐻𝐿's back and softens. You mean your family? He steps forward. 𝐻𝐿, is that how your family sees you? I never thought. He looks guilty. I merely thought you weren't taking this seriously. 𝐻𝐿. I frown behind my hair and sigh. I never thought it was important to bring up. I look ahead, seeing the vast expanding city beyond our school, and now, I have no other choice but to do what they want, or 𝐬𝐮. The silence following his last word made 𝐬𝐮 feel concern. If you truly believe the only choices you have are to do what your family wants, or die, then you really can't ever be a hero. 𝐻𝐿's frown depends, his eyes glinting red. 𝐻𝐿. I scoff, and what do you know? The guy who's had support all his life. Just leave me alone. I scoff. 𝐬𝐮. He frowns, offended at first, but then his gaze softens with understanding. 𝐻𝐿. I want to ask you a question and I want the honest truth from you. 𝐻𝐿 turns to him, seeing him with a stern gaze. Do you want to be a hero? 𝐻𝐿. I tensed a bit at that question. What kind of question is that? I've already told you, I can't become a hero. 𝐬𝐮. He steps forward. That's not what I asked. I asked if you wanted to become a hero. And I will repeat myself, I want the most honest truth. I want you to tell me what your heart's screaming out to me. 𝐻𝐿. I step back. It was as if everything around me that was once dark lit up and the light was surrounding him. 𝐬𝐮. 𝐬𝐮. He frowns and speaks out with determination. I'm sorry, 𝐻𝐿. I didn't notice how you were hurting till now, but let me help you. I know it's sudden, but I don't believe a single word you say. Because deep down, I can see the real longing within you is roaring out to be a hero. 𝐻𝐿 stands stunned. Now, tell me from the bottom of your heart, do you want to become a hero? 𝐻𝐿. I clench my fists and jaw, speaking out freely. Shut up. Stop preaching your simple-minded optimism and open your diamond eyes. 𝐬𝐮. I'm a freak with a weak, useless quirk. There's no way I'll become a hero and a 100% chance I embarrass myself. I glare at him. 𝐬𝐮. He stays strong and keeps his determined look. Is this what you think, or what you've been telling yourself your entire life? I can tell your emotions are warring with each other. You say you can't be a hero, yet you still never handed in your form to go and be a normal citizen. So who's really lying to themselves here? He steps forward. 𝐻𝐿. I look away and speak with my face to the floor. I've never even trained my quirk. I've never even used it besides by accident. Quit trying to give me false hope, because I've stopped hoping a long time ago. 𝐬𝐮. He puts a hand on 𝐻𝐿's shoulder. Your training is not an excuse either. You have 10 months to WHP yourself into shape, and I'm still waiting for an answer, and this will be the last time I'm asking. He holds his fist against his chest and speaks with a growing smile. As your friend, it is my duty to ensure your success in life. He takes his fist and plants it on 𝐻𝐿's chest. Now, do you want to be a hero? 𝐻𝐿. I couldn't fight it anymore. These emotions I've long since buried, warmth, hope, happiness, they flooded me as I started tearing up, the tears streaming down my cheeks as I speak the cold, hard truth. I've tricked myself were false all these years. Yes. Yes, damn it. I want to be a hero. 𝐬𝐮. He smiles and narrows his eyes. Then we have a lot of work to do, 𝐻𝐿. Starting with signing your forms. 𝐻𝐿's tears fall to the ground. He never wanted to cry in front of anyone, especially someone like 𝐬𝐮 who he saw as uptight and spoiled, but now, he sees his friend truly was one of the only people who ever cared. Time skip, end of school, third POV, same day. 𝐻𝐿. That day, I handed in my forms. 𝐻𝐿 is seen giving his teacher his application forms which have UA High School on them as the teacher stares at him in surprise while he nods. All these years, I closed my own mind off to give in to my family's views. But thanks to 𝐬𝐮, I'm able to embrace who I am. 𝐻𝐿 and 𝐬𝐮 are seen waking out the school together. My name is 𝐻𝐿 Tatsuma, and I am a dragon, and this is how I became the strongest hero of all time. Both boys leave the school as everything turns black the next day. Saturday morning, 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 Tatsuma home. I was getting dressed in whatever were considered training clothes in my closet while reading my texts from 𝐬𝐮, his voice echoing in my head. Tatsuma, I hope this message finds you well. Please remember, your training begins today. My home address will be below. I sigh heavily and look at the address. 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫. A part of me wants to go back to bed and sleep, but the part of me that absolutely hates listening to my parents is pretty overpowering today. I take my sneakers and slide them on, grabbing my bag at the same time. 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫. He knocks and his voice comes from the other side. 𝐻𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫, are you ready to leave? 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 looks to the door and huffs. 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫. I reply while walking towards the door, yeah, let's go, before mother decides it's my daily routine of. As I open the door, I'm met by 𝐻𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 and my mother. Torment. Mother. She glared, if I were tormenting it, you'd know it. She watches him look away and scoffs, walking over and grabbing his chin to make him look at her. Where do you think you're going today? 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫. I speak softly, unable to shake the submissiveness instilled into me. To my friend, mother. Mother. She takes her other hand and moves his hair away from his eyes, making his heart beat faster as she stares into his eyes, looking for any signs of lying, before she shoves him away with a disgusted scoff as he steps back. Fine. At least someone in this world cares about you. She folds her arms. Is this that 𝐬𝐮𝐴 boy again? 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫. I nod and look down. Yes, mother. Mother. She turns. Regardless of your uselessness and lack of any impressive qualities, you have the Tatsuma name, so try to not embarrass us further. 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫. She looks over her shoulder with a cold and cruel stare. Am I clear? 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫. I nod. Yes, ma'am. I feel a bead of sweat run down my face, hearing her footsteps leave, but not watching her do so. Once she was gone, I looked up at 𝐻𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫, seeing his stern, but oddly sympathetic gaze. 𝐻𝐻𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫. He speaks up apologetically. 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫, are you? 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 cuts him off by walking past him. 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫, in an emotionless tone, it's nothing, let's just go. While walking down the hall, I clench my jaw and fists in one while thinking, thanks, Mom, now I've got a surefire reason to piss you off by training my quirk. A few moments later, outside the home, still 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 POV outside, we climbed into the car and I sat in the back seat as usual, taking my phone out and seeing a new bombardment of Ryuko's muted messages and calls. I figured she'd stop them by now, but she seemed stubborn enough to continue trying. To no reply from me. 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫. I clear the notifications and go to text 𝐬𝐮. You're sure it's okay? I just come to your house to train. Almost immediately, there's a reply from 𝐬𝐮. Of course. I told my parents that you've never tried training your quirk and want to be a hero. My eyes turn paper white as I think to myself, what the hell? He made me sound like a lazy freeloader. I huff. 𝐻𝐮𝐿. He looks in the rear view and smiles. So, what got you into hero training all of a sudden? 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 tenses up and look over in shock. How did I know? That's what you were going to say, right? He chuckles heartily. I overheard you and your friend outside of school when I picked you up. You must have been very vocal if I heard you. 𝐀𝐮𝐿. I look away in embarrassment. Please don't tell my mother or father. If they found out, they'd probably send me off to boarding school. I'm begging you. I say pleadingly, no matter how much I hate to 𝐻𝐮𝐿. He shakes his head. Now why would I do that? 𝐀𝐮𝐿 perks up in the back seat. 𝐀𝐮𝐿, can I tell you something? 𝐀𝐮𝐿, yeah, sure. 𝐻𝐮𝐿. He looks at the road again. Your parents were wrong to treat you the way they do. Regardless of them being my employers, a parent should never shun their own child because of how they look or what power they inherited. In my eyes, you're just as equally important as your sister. 𝐀𝐮𝐿 watching him from the back seat as he speaks again. I want you to keep going and don't ever stop, okay? 𝐀𝐮𝐿. I stop myself from smiling and nod. Yes, 𝐻𝐮𝐿. I'll do my best. No, I'll do it. I'll get into UA and prove them wrong. I clench my fist and look out the window, watching the sky while thinking, I'll show them that they're fools, all of them. 𝐻𝐮𝐿. He adds with a mustached smile, and try to make up with your sister. 𝐀𝐮𝐿 deadpans. 𝐀𝐮𝐿, you ruined the moment. 𝐻𝐮𝐿 gains a purple aura over his head and slumps his head down, continuing to drive in silence. One drive later, 𝐬𝐮 residence, still 𝐀𝐮𝐿 POV. We arrived at 𝐬𝐮's home, A large modern house surrounded by a large property. I climb out of the car, and before I could even walk toward the door, I heard the boost of an engine, followed by the door swinging open wildly to reveal 𝐬𝐮𝐻 in training clothes, a bottle attached to a holster on his hip. 𝐻𝐿𝐿. I lean back, bringing my hand to my mouth and speaking. Ever heard of overdoing it, Tenya? 𝐬𝐮𝐻 smiles and walks over. Nonsense. When it comes to hero training, you must be prepared for anything. Clothes and all. He bows as a greeting. Please, come inside. 𝐻𝐿𝐿 follows him inside. Meanwhile, 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 solemnly watches from the driver's seat with a smile. 𝐻𝐿𝐿. I enter the house and see 𝐬𝐮𝐻's mother in the kitchen. Her short bob and glasses, like a female version of her son, catches me off guard as I bow in respect. Mrs. 𝐬𝐮𝐻. Thank you for having me. Mrs. 𝐬𝐮𝐻. She smiles and waves her hand. Please, it's no bother, Tatsuma. 𝐬𝐮𝐻 makes a cutting motion by his throat as she tilts her head, her hand going to her cheek. Did I say something wrong? 𝐬𝐮𝐻. He speaks with his hand chopping the air. Mother, 𝐻𝐿𝐿 prefers you to use his first name. 𝐻𝐿𝐿. I wave my hand, the other over my mouth. It's no problem really. I guess I'm just a little bit extra. I chuckle awkwardly from behind my hand. Mrs. 𝐬𝐮𝐻. She looks apologetic and gasps softly, Oh, I'm so sorry. I hope I didn't make things uncomfortable. 𝐬𝐮𝐻 pushes his glasses up. They go opaque. It seems you have, mother. 𝐬𝐮𝐻's mom gains a sweat drop at her son's straightforward behavior. 𝐻𝐿𝐿. I shake my head. Really, it's fine, ma'am. But 𝐻𝐿𝐿 is fine. It's better than hearing that last name over and over. Mrs. 𝐬𝐮𝐻. She smiles and puts her hand back to her cheek. Okay then, 𝐻𝐿𝐿. Please enjoy training with 𝐬𝐮𝐻. She looks to 𝐬𝐮𝐻. And don't you go playing hero, okay? Go easy on him. She chuckles and looks to 𝐻𝐿𝐿. You had to see how 𝐬𝐮𝐻 would boss all his friends around as a little boy. It was honestly so cute. 𝐻𝐿𝐿 stifles his laughter while 𝐬𝐮𝐻 tenses in shock. 𝐬𝐮𝐻, chopping the air and speaking in an almost whiny tone. Mother. You're making me sound like a brat. His mother laughs while 𝐻𝐿𝐿 chuckles softly behind his hand. He slumps over in defeat. 𝐻𝐿𝐿. I surprised at how nice 𝐬𝐮𝐻's mom was. I knew other people's moms were probably different from mine, but 𝐬𝐮𝐻's is like a polar opposite of what I expected. I calm down and look to 𝐬𝐮𝐻. Okay. So when do we start? 𝐬𝐮𝐻. He stands upright again and turns serious. Right. Please follow me. He turns and walks through the house, 𝐻𝐿𝐿 following behind him. Most people who have the money and facilities are able to get a home Quirk training permit or a HQTP from City Hall. This allows you to use your Quirk in the privacy of your home. Some establishments, like Quirk gyms, the public use, have these permits. 𝐻𝐿𝐿 listens while following from behind. 𝐻𝐿𝐿. I nod, talking softly. Yeah, we have one of those, but it was only for my sister's training, I guess. 𝐬𝐮𝐻. He comes to what seems to be the back door to the house. I see. He opens the door, the light causing 𝐻𝐿𝐿 to shield his hair-covered eyes. Welcome. The light dims and 𝐻𝐿𝐿 walks to beside 𝐬𝐮𝐻 a few steps outside, to the 𝐬𝐮 family training track. 𝐻𝐿𝐿. I see the large stretch of land at the back of the house, filled with various facilities and objects used for training. Whoa. The perimeter is surrounded by a mesh fence. You've trained here since you were a little kid. 𝐬𝐮𝐻. He smiles and nods. For the 𝐬𝐮 family to train their quirks, we need to be able to integrate movement like this track you see here. He gestures to a long stretch of shelves on the right wall. There you will find weight for strength training. I run with an extra 20 kilos at least. 𝐻𝐿𝐿 slumps over, before he gestures to the back of the fence straight ahead at the cardio machines. Those are exercise machines used for endurance. 𝐻𝐿𝐿 slumps more, before he finally gestured to the left at some trainage dummies and materials, and that if for practice, my Quirk gives me enhances kicking ability, so I always test my strength there. 𝐻𝐿𝐿 fully falls to his knees now as 𝐬𝐮 finally looks down. Is something the matter? 𝐻𝐿𝐿. I was facing down and speak in whisper. I'm too lazy for this. I want to go back home to my bed. I sigh heavily. 𝐬𝐮. He shakes his head. We have 10 months until the exam. You're already 9 years behind. Let's begin. 𝐻𝐿𝐿 held onto the ground as 𝐬𝐮 dragged him by his ankle, a long groan coming from the boy as 𝐬𝐮 pulls him along. Narration. From that day on, I trained every single day with Tenya. 𝗏𝐻𝐿 is seen with 𝐬𝐮 as the boy attaches weights to his wrists and ankles, before he takes a step and completely falls face first, a sweat drop appearing on 𝐬𝐮's face while 𝗏𝐻𝐿 puts up a weak thumbs up. There's some rough starts. 𝗏𝐻𝐿 is seen running on a treadmill as his foot gets caught behind his own ankle and he falls over, then 𝐬𝐿𝐴 to him punching a dummy with his scales activated. It causes damage, only for his fist to swell up and his scales to shed off as he yells out in pain. A lot of rough starts. I fall over after the first day of training coming to an end, my muscles burning and my chest heaving with heavy breath, before 𝐬𝐿 stands over me and my hand goes over my mouth as he hands me a page. I take it and my heart drops. Seeing a diet and eating plan, I look up and see his serious expression, before hunching over with a defeat sigh and a whine narration. It was hard. Not just the training and eating, but keeping it hidden from my sucky parents. 𝗏𝐻𝐿 is seen sneaking out the window, his mother standing and waiting for his room door to open from the hallway, but eventually I got a hang of, well, everything. 𝗏𝐻𝐿 is seen running with weights attached to his ankles and wrists, a determined look hidden by his hair as 𝐬𝐿 laps him several times. 𝐬𝐿 passes 𝗏𝐻𝐿, pick up the pace, 𝗏𝐻𝐿. You're getting better. 𝗏𝐻𝐿 smiles at his back as he passed and runs, scales forming around his legs, boosting his already above human strength as he runs faster narration. I even discovered more things about my quirk. 𝗏𝐻𝐿 is seen standing in the center of the running track, forming his scales and shedding them, making sure they don't lose their quality, sweat running and his breath picking up. Clearly the exertion is taxing his body, but he doesn't stop. If I maintain the quality of my scales, it causes me to become tired faster. 𝐬𝐿 told me quirks are like muscles in our body. The harder you work them, the stronger they heal in preparation for the next exertion. 2 months in, 𝗏𝐻𝐿 is seen standing in front of a dummy, 𝐬𝐿 teaching him kicks and punches with proper form. His punch is a dummy, splintering the wood in the chest area, following by a miscalculated kick which kicks the head off the dummy. They both stare with shock and slight concern, though 𝗏𝐻𝐿 was a bit proud of his new strength, and eventually, the hardest thing to do became the eating. 𝗏𝐻𝐿 is seen eating large plates of food at dinner while his parents pay him no mind. Even at school, he's seen constantly eating something, like meat, or protein bars 𝐬𝐿 told him to get. Until the exam neared. 10 months later, third POV is seen running around the track, before he stops to drink water, only to hear a loud crunch, followed by something hitting the ground as he turns around to see 𝗏𝐻𝐿 training on the dummies as he punches its shoulder joints, both its arms clattering to the ground as he breathes out a steamy breath, his body toned and slightly muscled, scales from his elbows to his fists and legs, knees down. 𝐬𝐿. He walks over with a smile, proud and happy for his friend. The exams. Tomorrow. How do you feel? 𝗏𝐻𝐿. I take a deep breath and drop my serious expression as I turn around to face him. I'm ready to give it a shot. My scales shed off to the ground as I let out a misty breath. 𝐬𝐿. He folds his arms and smiles. You've got a lot riding on this, so don't disappoint me, 𝗏𝐻𝐿. He offers his hand to shake, but 𝗏𝐻𝐿 shakes his head, 𝐬𝐿 giving him a confused look. 𝗏𝐻𝐿. I smile and look down, hiding it from him. You've earned one of these. I offer my fist to him and look up, dropping my smile. 𝐬𝐿. His eyes shine, a fist bump. I figured this was only something delinquents did. He smiles widely. 𝗏𝐻𝐿. I'm so glad I'm worthy of a fist bump. 𝗏𝐻𝐿. Okay, don't be a nerd and take it. 𝐬𝐿. He tenses up. Very well. He touches his fist with 𝗏𝐻𝐿's as he smiles at his friend, 𝗏𝐻𝐿 giving him a nod in response, before 𝗏𝐻𝐿's phone goes off and he turns to check it. 𝐬𝐿, seeing his back muscles tense. Is something wrong? 𝗏𝐻𝐿. I sigh. Feels like it. I see the message from my mother, reading it in my mind in her voice. Get home. Now. I sigh and swallow my fears and newfound worry. I guess I gotta go now. I'll see you tomorrow, 𝐬𝐿. 𝐬𝐿. He nods as he watches 𝗏𝐻𝐿 packing his things and putting his bag on his back, walking toward the door into the house. I will see you tomorrow, he says as 𝗏𝐻𝐿 opens the door, holding it open, neither of them noticing the black electricity that arcs off 𝗏𝐻𝐿's body in a split second. 𝗏𝐻𝐿. I say my next words under my breath so he can't hear. I hope so. I walk in through the doorway and let the door swing closed behind myself, filling the hall in darkness. Same day. evening Tatsuma home 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 I had pulled up to the front doors of the house with 𝐒𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫. He was quiet, almost guilty. It made my heartbeat go through the roof. I looked to him before getting out the car and he couldn't face me, instantly telling me that he likely ratted me out. I sighed and looked to the house, my stomach feeling as if it was a void of despair as I got out and walked toward the doors. 𝐒𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫. He got out the car and spoke out, "𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫, please forgive me. I did not want to tell them, but your mother made me." He looked sorry as he looked at 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐴's form approaching the front doors. 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐴. I opened the door, but didn't go in yet as I spoke emotionlessly, "It's no problem. I know how persuasive they can be," I said with a cold expression into the house, walking into the house and closing the door behind me. A few moments later, living room still 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐴. I entered the lounge through the hallway and saw both my parents seated on the large sofa, my gaze shielded by my long hair and my lips shut for my own reasons as I looked down at speak out in a failed assertive tone, sounding more nervous and false than anything. 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐴. I clenched my fists. "You wanted me home, mother?" "Mother?" She looked at him coldly with her arms folded. "Correction, boy. We both did." I closes her eyes, her husband just looking at 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐴, which made the boy's gaze avert to the floor. I questioned 𝐒𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐴 about where you've been going. She glared. "Father." He speaks sternly, his stoic expression unfaltering. "You have been training your Quirk with a boy from another hero family as well." He frowns slightly. "Do you know how embarrassing that is?" 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐴. I speak under my breath. I just wanted to. Before I finish my sentence, I stopped myself and clenched my fists tighter and said something else. "I was just training. He's my friend." "Mother." She stands up, now furious. "You were forbidden from ever training your Quirk. That was a simple rule to follow, you defiant brat." She approached 𝐀𝐮𝐴. "Did you even sign up for the school we told you you could go to?" 𝐀𝐮𝐴. I clenched my jaw before shouting out, "Though. I signed up for the UA entrance exam." I realized what I shouted out and tense up, stepping back to see the utter rage on my mother's face and the scowl from my father. "Mother." She marched over and grabbed 𝐀𝐮𝐴's wrist, lifting it as she shouts out, "You did what?" She saw 𝐀𝐮𝐴's fear and grabbed his hair with the other hand, pulling him closer to her face and making him wince in discomfort. "You're completely out of line. You defied us at every possible turn, for what? Just to end up an even bigger failure than you already are." She let go of his wrist and brought the hand up as if to smack him, his eyes shutting closed for the impact. "Father." He closes his eyes, his arms folded as he speaks up, "Enough." Ryuka stopped and looked back, not letting 𝐀𝐮𝐴 go as the boy's chest heaved. "Mother." She lowers her hands, still holding 𝐀𝐮𝐴's hair, making him kneel as she looks to Ryuji. "Enough. He's disrespected us, disrespected our rules and raised his voice at us. And you want me to leave him? After all he's put us through?" "Father." He stared just as stern. Ryuka scoffs and shoves 𝐀𝐮𝐴's head to the side as he looks down, his hair shielding his eyes still as he remains quiet. "You signed up for the top hero school in the country." 𝐀𝐮𝐴. I nod, still looking down as I reply submissively, "Yes, sir. I signed up 10 months ago. That's when I started my training for tomorrow's exam." "Father." He narrows his eyes. "Then you're an even bigger fool than I thought." 𝐀𝐮𝐴 flinched at the harsh words, even though they were normal by now. "You still believe you can follow in mine and your sister's footsteps with that pitiful ability you call a Quirk? With your appearance alone you'd be a laughing stock to our family." 𝐀𝐮𝐴. I clenched my fist and stood up, even though I was shorter compared to my mother. Even when standing, I spoke up, "I know. But I still want to try." "Mother." Her eyes widen. "You dare to speak back to your father?" She looked about ready to lunge after 𝐀𝐮𝐴, but Ryuji spoke up again. "Father." Looks to Ryuka. "I'm not done. Have a seat, Ryuka." Ryuka scoffed and glared at 𝐀𝐮𝐴 before walking over to the couch and sitting beside Ryuji as he spoke again with a slight smile of amusement. "You're basing your chance to go on and become a normal civilian and live an easy life as a salaryman on a try. You're either stupid or a fool, boy. But looking at that simple-minded determination, I'd say it's both." 𝐀𝐮𝐴. I clench my fists in anger while thinking to myself, "Shut the hell up, old man. How about you tell me that when you're actually off your butt for once?" I say with a glare from behind my hair. Father narrows his sharp draconic eyes. "Fix your face, boy. 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 tensed and dropped his glare. 𝐻𝐼 continued with an angry tone. I want you to answer me now. What do you hope to prove with this futile endeavor? 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫. I rose my gaze from the floor and shouted out this time, a sudden speed up in my heartbeat driving me. I want to be a hero, god damn it. Mother. She frowned, her fury causing a slight activation in her quirk, shown by her slit pupils and sharpening nails. That is it. She prepared to stand up, but 𝐻𝐼's hand gripped her wrist, stopping her as she looked to him. What are you doing? Father. He gave her a side glance. Leave it. He's a fool if he thinks raising his voice will change a single thing. He looks to 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫. You said the exam is tomorrow. 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 nods as he releases Ryuka's wrist and folds his arms once more. You can go. Mother. She looks to him in shock. What? She stood up and tried to reason with 𝐻𝐼. You're just letting him go. He will make our family a laughing stock. The only Tatsuma to ever fail at becoming a hero. He will just prove to be what we've said he was all these years, and you're risking that to prove a point. She looked at him furiously. Father. He looked to her calmly. I told you years ago that he will never have the power of a real Tatsuma, but if his hubris drives him to peruse that reality, then let him. When he fails, you can do what you wish with him, like you wanted when he was a child. You are his mother after all. 𝐀𝐮𝐴𝐫 blood runs cold, his heart feeling a hurtful pang before 𝐻𝐼 continued, if he agrees to it. His eyes narrow. What will it be, 𝐀𝐮𝐴𝐫? Choose a normal life, or risk having won it all to be a hero? 𝐀𝐮𝐴𝐫. I looked on 𝐒𝐮𝐻𝐼 in my mind as I clench my right fist and bring it to my chest, hitting it there. I'm gonna be a hero. Mother. She looks to him with a cruel glare. That settles it then, boy. When you fail, this little act of disrespect is going to be punished. She walks and stands beside him as he looks up. She gives a cold side glance, making him look away as she gains a satisfied smirk. However I see fit. She walks off behind 𝐀𝐮𝐴𝐫 father. He stands up. You have a bed to get to, don't you? Go. 𝐀𝐮𝐴𝐫. I nod and bow. Yes, sir. I walk off while thinking to myself, they let me go. They actually let me go. I shudder at a sudden realization. But if I fail, Mother is going to make my life an even bigger hell than it already is. My heart sinks as I think of what my life will be if I fail, my hand going up to rub my head where my hair was pulled. Maybe it will stop when I get in. Time skip. Next morning, still 𝐀𝐮𝐴𝐫 POV. I was getting dressed in my 𝐀𝐮𝐬𝐵 uniform and grabbed my backpack with my training clothes in it from beside my bed, strapping it to my back and grabbing my phone. I usually looked for Iida's messages at this time, ignoring Ryuko's as I see my friend's normal check-in. Iida's message, in his voice, 𝐀𝐮𝐴𝐫, I hope all went well after yesterday's training. Please try to be early, first impressions always count. 𝐀𝐮𝐴𝐫 shook his head with a sigh. 𝐀𝐮𝐴𝐫. I speak aloud while turning to my door. He's acting like I'm going to miss the exam or something. I look up from my phone to see my mother standing by the doorway, my heart naturally dropping as I speak softly, my gaze down. Morning, Mother. Mother. She looks him up and down and speaks emotionlessly, ignoring his greeting. You seem even more pitiful that last night, though I don't take pity on useless children like you. She turns and walks. Prepare to replace my tea lady when you fail, boy. She disappears down the hall. 𝐀𝐮𝐴𝐫. I speak softly, knowing the volume of voice I can get away with her hearing. Prepare to lick my shoes when I'm a hero. I mutter as I leave my room and walk, paying no mind to the black crackle around my body for a split second as I exit the hall and arrive at the entrance corridor, placing my hand on the doorknob and speaking aloud to myself. Good luck, 𝐀𝐮𝐴𝐫. I take a deep breath and leave the house, the door closing behind me. Time skip. Drive later at the foot of UA Hill. Still 𝐀𝐮𝐴𝐫 POV. We drove through 𝐀𝐮𝐴𝐫 City where I had barely ever been in after leaving our suburb. I saw the school sitting atop a hill surrounded by forestry. It looked magnificent as 𝐂𝐮𝐵 pulled up to the foot of the hill. I immediately spoke up before he could drive to the top. 𝐀𝐮𝐴𝐫. I speak up quickly. Stop. 𝐂𝐮𝐵 brakes hard as I continue. I'll walk the rest of the way. I don't want everyone to look at me getting out of car. I look to him. 𝐂𝐮𝐵. He nods. I see. He chuckles, though, it's a big change. Your sister got in on recommendations, so I normally drove her to the gates. 𝐀𝐮𝐴𝐵 gave an expressionless stare, making 𝐂𝐮𝐵 clear his throat. Right, You don't want to talk about her. He watches 𝗏𝗘 prepare to leave and speaks up. Your mother can be difficult, 𝗏𝗘. 𝗏𝗘, I stop and look to him in the rear view mirror. So I've heard. I sarcastically with a roll my eyes and continue, but before you say anything, she hates my guts, so whatever defense you want to put out there, like for Ryuko, I don't want to hear it. Kuga. He smiles and closes his eyes, shaking his head with a chuckle as he looks back at 𝗏𝗘. It's not that. I wanted to tell you, to never let them get to you. I believe in you, young 𝗏𝗏. 𝗏𝗘 looks a bit surprised. 𝗏𝗘. I look out the window and open the door. Yeah. Thanks, Kuga, it means a lot. I get out the car. Have a nice day. I close the door and hear the wheels roll, the car driving down the street as I suddenly tense, looking up the long stretch of hill. I kind of regret saying I'd walk. I sigh heavily a few moments later. One long walk later, high front gates still 𝗏𝗘 POV. I was walking into the gates, gazing around in slight awe, not noticing the gazes I get from other students, though I do see some girls looking my way. I tense up and think to myself while walking 𝗏𝗘, thinking, I think they're checking me out. I walk more upright, trying to act nonchalant girl one, watching 𝗏𝗘 walk by as she sees his glowing red eyes, messy overhanging hair and elongated mouth while she whispers, "What's with that kid? He looks like a total weirdo." Girl 2, she replies with a whisper, "Yeah, and what's with his mouth? He kinda looks like a lizard." They watch him walk off from the back. 𝗏𝗘. I let out the breath I was holding as I passed them and hunched over a bit, my cheeks slightly red. That was so nerve-wracking. I've never had a girl check me out. Let alone 2. I smile internally, before a voice suddenly comes from behind me. Blonde guy. He marches from behind 𝗏𝗘. Get the hell out of my way, freak. 𝗏𝗘. I tense up and step out of the way, looking down as I talk. Sorry, my bad. Blonde guy. Past 𝗏𝗘 with a scoff. That's what I thought, extra. 𝗏𝗘 rubbed the back of his head with an apologetic gaze shielded behind his hair. 𝗏𝗘. I pause while thinking, wait. He just made me look like a complete pushover. I clench my fists and look down. Hissy 𝗏𝗘. You just let that guy take you for a complete butt in front of all these people. He can't stand assholes like him. I grit my teeth, before hearing another voice. Brown-haired girl. She runs up from behind 𝗏𝗘 too. Excuse me. 𝗏𝗘 tenses and steps back. 𝗏𝗘. I scratch my cheek and look down, talking softly. Brown-hair girl. She smiles and tilts her head. Whoa, you're pretty neat looking. 𝗏𝗘. I lean back, speaking softly. I am. She leaned even closer and I nearly shut down before I put my hand over my mouth. Brown-hair girl. She leaned back and smiled sweetly. Sorry, I got sidetracked, but I wanted to tell you that your bag's open. She points at 𝗏𝗘's bag zip, which is halfway opened, some of his clothes hanging out. 𝗏𝗘. I nod awkwardly as she waves and runs away, allowing me to release my breath and think clearly. A girl thinks I look neat. I feel my heart swell as I reach back to zip my bag closed, looking into the sky at the appealing clouds. Maybe I'm not destined to be lonely forever. Green-haired boy. He was standing near 𝗏𝗘, watching the boy stare into the sky. Hey, are you okay? 𝗏𝗘 tenses up as he looks immediately to the ground. The boy starts waving his hands apologetically. Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to offend you. 𝗏𝗘. I speak softly. It's okay. I need to go. Green-haired boy. Oh, okay. He watches 𝗏𝗘 inch away, before he fully sprints inside to get away from people. What a strange guy. Short time later, UA High School Hero Course Exam Orientation Room. 𝗏𝗘 POV. I had found the room and Ida, who kept a seat for me right beside him. The room was a large auditorium with a massive screen in the front above a stage. We all found our seats and suddenly, the strobe lights in the room lit up and illuminated the stage as the TV lit up to show the UA logo with a blue background. A man also appears on stage. Teacher. He speaks up with an excitable energy. What's up, UA candidates? Thanks for tuning in to me, your school DJ. He smiles and throws his arms out to the crowd. Come on and let me hear ya. He puts his hand to his ear to hear for any cheering, only to receive a still silence as he turns back to them, keeping it mellow. That's fine, let's get straight to the main show. Let's talk about how this practical exam's gonna go down. He strikes a pose and yells out, Are you ready?
Yeah.
He receives more silence. 𝗏𝗏. I tilt my head and speak softly so only 𝐬𝐮𝐻 can hear me. Who's that? He's got a funny outfit for a teacher. 𝐬𝐮. He turns to 𝗏𝗏 with slight surprise. You didn't know. Most UA high faculty are actually heroes. It's how they produce so many outstanding heroes. The man on stage is a pro hero. Present mic. He watches 𝗏𝗏 nod in understanding and turns serious. Now be quiet so we can hear. 𝗏𝗏. I deadpan and roll my eyes. Geez, no need to be so strict. I hear a gasp and look back at a green-haired boy geeking out like a fangirl. He seems excited. Mike. He puts his hand up, like your application said. Today you rocking boys and girls will be out there conducting 10-minute mock battles in super suburban settings. The screen changes to show different letters from A to G. Feast your eyes, my friends. After I drop the mic here, you'll go to your specified battle center. Sound good? He is met with more silence. Okay. No reply is given as 𝗏𝗏 and 𝐬𝐮 look at their exam tickets. 𝐬𝐮 was in center B while 𝗏𝗏 was in a 𝗏𝗏. I speak softly with a bit of nervousness. So we're all on our own, huh? 𝐬𝐮. He nods seriously. They don't want any one of us working together. They likely want to see how we can perform on our own. He looks to 𝗏𝗏. Then it's good you did all your training by yourself, even with my plan. He narrows his eyes at the information pamphlet, though, something is strange here. 𝗏𝗏 tilts his head with a question mark above it. Mike. He speaks up again as the screen changes to display the suburban city. Okay, let's check out your targets. Holograms of robots appear on the screen around the city. There are 3 types of faux villains in every battle center. You earn points based on their level of difficulty, so better choose wisely. The TV now displays a game simulation of Mike attacking robots and earning points. Your goal is to use your quirk to raise your score by shredding these opponents like a mid-song guitar solo. He turns back to the students and points, but check it. Make sure you keep things heroic. Attacking other examinees is a UA no-no, you dig. He says with a smile before a familiar voice speaks up. 𝐬𝐮. He stands up abruptly, eliciting a shocked look from 𝗏𝗏. Excuse me, sir, but I have a question. Mike points into the crowd. Hit me. A strobe light turns on and signs down on 𝐬𝐮, who points to the printout. On the printout, you listed 4 types of villains, not 3. He grows angrier as the light slightly shines on 𝗏𝗏, who covers his mouth. With all due respect, if this is an error on official UA materials, it's shameful. He puts his fist to his chest. We are exemplary students. We expect the best from Japan's most notable school. He puts his fist up now. A mistake such as this won't do. He turns around and points at the green-haired boy from earlier. Additionally, you with the unkempt hair. The boy points at himself in confusions. You've been muttering this entire time. Stop that. If you can't bother to take this seriously, leave. He tilts his head down. You're distracting the rest of us. 𝗏𝗏. I speak from behind my hand. That's harsh. I watch a few students laugh while the boy is left in shock and apologizes, gaining more laughter, before Mike speaks up again, gaining all our attention. Mike. He puts his hands up and makes a lowering motion. All right, examinee number 7111. Gives a thumbs up. Thanks for calling with your request. The 4th robot's silhouette appears on the screen. The 4th villain type is worth 0 points. Points at the screen. That guy's just an obstacle we'll be throwing in your way. The screen changes to the game again. There's one in every battle center. Think of it as a hurdle you should try to avoid. The screen shows game Mike encountering the robot. It's not that it can't be beaten, but there's kinda no point. Game Mike is seen fleeing from the villain as real Mike strikes a pose. I recommend my listeners try to ignore it and focus on the ones top of the charts. 𝐬𝐮. He bows while 𝗏𝗏 is trying to escape the light. Thank you very much. Please, continue. He sits and the light goes out, allowing 𝗏𝗏 to sigh in relief, before flicking 𝐬𝐮's ear, making the boy rub it with an apologetic look. Mike. He speaks up finally. That's all I got for you today. I'll sign off with a little present, a sample of our school motto. As General Napoleon Bonaparte once laid down, a true hero is one who overcomes life's misfortunes. Now that's a tasty soundbite. He closes one eye and looks at the crowd with a grin. You ready to go beyond? He leans back and throws his arms out. Let's hear a plus ultra. The screen shows the words behind him, only to be met with more silence as he speaks up again. Good luck. Hope you practiced hitting more than just books. Scene change. Suburban city, a still 𝐴𝐿 POV. We got into buses which took us to our respective cities. I was alone with a bunch of other kids, including that ash blonde 𝐴𝐿 from earlier. I glared from behind my hair as we waited to get going. 𝐴𝐿. I thought to myself, he's 𝐂𝐮, but he didn't even look sorry after. I hear a noise and look over to see the city gates opening. I away and close my eyes. Whatever, I still need to get through this, or else I'll probably become a servant in my own home, if you can consider it that. I open my eyes and stare in shock that I'm so alone now. Hey! Mike over the microphone. He yells through the device. What are you doing daydreaming? Get your butt in there, kid. A hero doesn't need on your marks to fight villains. 𝐿, CRP. I immediately rush into the city with heavy breath. I'm probably so behind already. I think while running into the city, already seeing bits of robots as I look around desperately. This was the start of my first foot toward becoming a hero. And I'm already failing. 33rd POV. Years ago, Tatsuma home, a young 5-year-old 𝐿𝐿 is seen standing outside his father's study, peeking into the room where his father is usually alone in, but this time, his mother is there. He listens into their conversation, curious of what his mother has to say after they returned from the doctor. Father. He was sitting behind his desk, his hands together. What did the doctor say? Mother. He had her arms folded. His quirk developed earlier than most children, but it's neither of ours. He has a transformation quirk, and the doctor was bold enough to call it dragon scale. She scoffs. It's weak and is more of a cosmetic than a quirk. She looks at Ryuji, seeing his indifference. Father. He closes his eyes and sighs heavily. I had a feeling he was different when I saw the mutations. Mother. She rolls her eyes. I told you I didn't want another child. Ryukyu was perfectly fine. She developed a strong quirk and she has better training than most children her age. She turns and walks over to the bookshelf. Who cares about some fairy tale your father told you as a child? Father. He frowns. My father's sorry was no fairy tale. He was proof of its existence. I had hoped Ryuko had it when she developed his quirk, but she hasn't shown a single sign. He opens his eyes, and 𝐿𝐿. He's a complete failure. I fear the power died with him. Mother. Scoffs again and speaks while facing away. I married you because my mother told me I was guaranteed an easy life through my children and the influence of the Tatsuma clan. Not to spend my years caring for a useless child. I was content with Ryuko, but you wanted to try again. She looks to him. I want him gone. Father. He frowns a bit. Gone. Ryuka, are you implying we get rid of our son? 𝐿𝐿 whimpered quietly from the door and his fragile heart broke when hearing that, tears pricking at the corners of his eyes. Mother. She approaches the desk. Yes. He can go to your family in Yunnan. No cities, hero schools, and he can learn those countryside traditional ways. She says with almost disgust, he's useless here in Japan, it's best for him to leave. Father. He narrows his eyes. My family would gladly accept him, but it's out of the question. The Tatsuma clan never abandons their own, no matter what. He stands up and speaks firmly. Taking him there would bring shame on me and our daughter as members. He's of our BLD and our responsibility. He folds his arms. Mother. She frowns and groans. You Tatsumas and your traditions. This is the modern world, not the ancient times where mythical creatures and denying tradition meant you'd be cursed for the rest of your life. She stares him in the eyes. Remember, I can easily take my daughter with me and leave you without any powerful children. Father. He falters and growls before closing his eyes. It's final. 𝐿𝐿 stays here until he can fend for himself. I will have the servants care for him and you won't need to worry about anything regarding him. He opens his eyes and looks at her seriously. Is that enough for you, Ryuka? Mother. She thinks and sighs softly. Very well. As long as he doesn't bother me anymore. Ryuji sighs and sits down while she turns and walks toward the doors, opening them to see 𝐿𝐿 standing there in tears. She scoffs. Don't look at me like that, child. 𝐿𝐿. He looks up at her with heartbreak and sadness. Did you really mean all those things you said, mother? He grips the hem of his shirt, mother. She looks down coldly and scoffs, of course I did. Now go somewhere else with your crying. I have better things to do. She walks away while 𝐀𝐮𝐿 watched her leave and his father's doors close shut. Not a word more from him, 𝐀𝐿. He starts crying where he stood, hurt and broken from his parents' words, before he hears someone call out, 𝐀𝐿. From behind him, turning to see his older sister, Ryuko. Am I useless? Sniffles Ryuko. She gasps seeing him so hurt and his eyes filled with tears as she runs over and hugs him. No way. You're not useless. Don't listen to anything they say. She smiles at 𝐀𝐿 as he rubs his eyes. Come on, we can go play in my room. 𝐀𝐿. He nods softly and holds her hand. Okay. He follows her on the hall, looking back to where his parents spoke, a sad look on his face. Narration. 𝐀𝐿's older voice speaks up. In life, we're never given a good hand. I learnt that from a young age. But what you do with that hand is what makes it good. The memory fades out to show 𝐀𝐿 running through the suburban city. I took my hand and played a little late, but this story is about how I became the strongest hero of all time. Present time UA suburban city 𝐀𝐿 POV. I was making my way through the suburban city in search of villains. While running I was thinking of how I can take out these robots, but while deep in though, a one-pointer rolled quickly out of an alley, blocking my path with its arm reeled back to attack me. 𝐀𝐿. I form scales over my arms, see? I put my arms up and block the punch, some of my scales chipping off from the impact. I didn't train for anything to hit back. I lower my arms and duck under another punch. That eye looks like a weak spot. I reel my left arm back and deliver a blow straight into the robot's eye, scrunching its head inward as I back up. See it short-circuit one-pointer, shorting and arcing with electricity. Target acquired. It falls back as 𝐀𝐿 watches in disbelief. 𝐀𝐿. I clench my fist. I'm so badass. I run off again. 1 point isn't close enough. I bet there's people out here with tons already. I run and see 3 one-pointers in my path. Okay. This might be tough. One-pointer. The one in the middle speaks up in a robotic voice. Target locked. 𝐀𝐿's eyes flash red from behind his hair as he runs in and ducks under the robot's attack and uppercuts its head, before pulling it in front of himself. 𝐀𝐿. I hold it. These things are programmed to attack us. Which means they'll attack no matter what. The second one-pointer punches at me, but I use the damaged one as a shield, the punch hitting through it as I peek out from behind my shield and punch the second one's eyes, shattering it. I'm getting a hang of this. The 2 bots fall to the ground. One-pointer. The third one caught 𝐀𝐿 by surprise and punched him in the chest, making him slide back on his feet and hunch over with a cough. Target locked. 𝐀𝐿's scales suddenly shed off him as he stood upright to reveal he had protected his chest with scales as he jumps forward and kicks the last one-pointer with a side kick from above, scales forming on his legs as the robot's head flew off and clattered to the floor. 𝐀𝐿. I stood with the 3 robots fallen in front of me. That's a killer confidence booster. I run off, not wasting any more time as I turn a corner and go down an alley, finding another one-pointer there as I jump up and land on its head, kicking off it as its head crunches inward, making the robot fall back in defeat as I land behind it and run toward the light at the end of the alley. When I reach the end, I'm met with an awful sight. Blonde guy. He screams out as he crashes into a 2-pointer with an explosion, standing atop its destroyed form as the smoke clear. These things aren't worth my time. 𝐀𝐿. I look around and see several more examinees fight. 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫. Why's he gotta be so strong? I thought he was compensating for something. I turn the corner and run away from the battle scene, going toward the quieter parts of the city. The more noise means less bots for me. I'll go where there's less destruction and build up points on the weaker bots. Some running later. Still 𝐀𝐿 POV suburban city UA. I reached a less populated area and found more one-pointers, though there was a 2-pointer in the way. I ran in quickly and punched a 1-pointer and shed my scales, reforming a new set, followed by pulling off the damaged one's arm and using it to hit the head in of a second 1-pointer. 𝐀𝐿. I see the 2-pointer move in, its design resembling a scorpion almost. Okay, the bigger one, it looks weaker on the legs. They're thin and jointed. I jump up, dodging the sweep of one of its tails and throwing the robot arm toward its leg 2-pointer. It speaks in a deeper robotic voice, target acquired. It says just as the robot limb flies in two and breaks one of its legs, making it fall over as 𝐻𝐿𝐴 comes crashing down, landing on its head, destroying it as it lowers down one pointer. It stood with two others, target acquired, 𝐻𝐿𝐴 dashed in and kicked its head, breaking it off as it flies into the second one's face, crunching its head in as 𝐻𝐿𝐴 takes a punch from the third, sliding back and dashing back in and clashing with it, both fighting for 𝐻𝐿𝐴. I strain, before pushing harder as it falls over. These things are starting to get annoying. When it fell over, I stood over it one pointer. It speaks on while on the floor, target acquired. Target acquired. 𝐻𝐿𝐴, I sigh, don't you guys say anything else. I stomp on its head, its arms falling down limply. I fold my arms in thought. That makes still low. I hear automating wheels rolling and my eyes widen behind my hair to see a 3-pointer accompanied by two 2-pointers. See? 3-pointer. Its voice is deeper than the other two, target acquired. It fires 2 missiles from its cannons on its back. 𝐻𝐿𝐴 jumps forward, the explosives exploding behind him and throwing him forward as he rolls to his feet and runs in 2-pointer. It and the other one move forward to defend, but 𝐻𝐿𝐴 slides on the floor, dodging both their attacks. Target lost. 𝐻𝐿𝐴 jumps from behind them, on top of the 3-pointer 𝐻𝐿𝐴. I spoke from behind the 2-pointers, while on top of the 3-pointer that was trying to 𝐶RP me with its bulky hands, over here. 2-pointers. They turned and saw 𝐻𝐿𝐴, their eyes flashing as they say in unison, target acquired. They both send their tail-like appendage out to attack 𝐻𝐿𝐴, but he jumps off, only 4. Their tails to piece through the 3-pointer's head, making it shut down as 𝐻𝐿𝐴 lands behind it. 𝐻𝐿𝐴. I huff, glad I thought of that on the fly. I use both hands to push the 3-pointer forward, its body crushing the 2-pointers as I fold my arms in thought. That makes 20. I hear a scream and look behind me down the street, followed by a crash. There's someone else here. Girl's voice shouts out from the distance, call them off. 𝐻𝐿𝐴 sheds his worn-out scales and forms a new set, running down the street mic, over the megaphone as it echoes through the whole city. 6 minutes and 2 seconds left. 𝐻𝐿𝐴 keeps going down the street, running until she came across 2 3-pointers, 3 1-pointers and a 2-pointer surrounding a girl. She was one of the girls from earlier who was talking about 𝐻𝐿𝐴. She looked over and saw him. She herself looked worn out and tired as she spots him. Please, help me. 𝐻𝐿𝐴. I run in and tense my scales to my skin to reinforce, a move I picked up while training them as I punched a 1-pointer at the back of its head, making it fall over and short-circuit, followed by the 2-pointer sending its tail at me. 2-pointer. Target acquired. 𝐻𝐿𝐴 uses this chance and dives behind another 1-pointer as the 2-pointer's tail pieces its body as he jumps up and runs along its tail, forming scales across his legs and kicking the 2-pointer in the face, denting its head in mic. The entire city began shaking and 𝐻𝐿𝐴 looked into the air, seeing a massive smoke in the distance, likely in another city center as he yells over the megaphone. Less than 2 minutes remaining. 𝐻𝐿𝐴. I jump back and land in front of the girl while thinking as I face off with the 3-pointer and last 1-pointer. I couldn't sever its head, my scales are weakening and I'm getting tired. I breath heavily as I talk softly to the girl behind me. You okay? Girl. She nods, thanks. She sees the 3-pointer punch toward 𝐻𝐿𝐴. Look out. She watches as 𝐻𝐿𝐴 puts his hands out and catch the large bulky fist and looks scared. I need to go. Bye. She runs off as 𝐻𝐿𝐴 watches her run away. 𝐻𝐿𝐴. She really left me. I watch in stunned shock. Great. The 3-pointer yanks its arm back, but I came up with an idea in that moment and hold on, letting it pull me in as I jut my feet out, both slamming into its fat head, denting it in as the robot malfunctions and its limbs fall limp as I am left sitting on top of it tiredly. Finally. I'm beat. 1-pointer. It pops up as 𝐻𝐿𝐴 forgot it, target acquired. 𝐻𝐿𝐴 yelps and kicks the 3-pointer's cannon, breaking it off as it falls and crushes the 1-pointer as it makes a powering down sound as a black crackles runs across 𝐻𝐿𝐴's whole body before his scales shed off. 𝐻𝐿𝐴. I lay back and let out a heavy huff, breathing heavily. That makes 31. I hear a loud crash and sit up, looking over where I saw that dust cloud, the sound of a thunderous rumble, followed by a quake in the earth as I speak to myself. I wonder what's going on over there. Mike. His voice comes in after a horn blares loudly, times ye. 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 looks into the air and climbs off the three-pointer 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐴. I walk while scratching my cheek. I wonder how 𝐬𝐿𝐵 did. I say as I make my way down the street to go back to the entrance time skip. 1 week later, Tatsuma home, still 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐴 POV. I was in my room. It had been a week since I took the UA entrance exam. I was sure I did good on the written exam and I at least got 31 points in the practical, but now I was just hoping I made it. My entire future was riding on it. I don't tell my parents how many points I got. And mother wasn't making it any easier. She spent the whole week tormenting me about what I'll be doing when I fail. It was unsettling, but not out of the ordinary. Mother, without knocking, she opens the door, 𝐻𝐿𝐵 beside her as they look at 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐴 sitting with a hand gripper. As he looks down, knowing not to look at them, your letter came. She reaches her hand out, holding the stamped letter. Open it so you can see how useless you are. 𝐀𝐮𝐿. I drop the hand gripper and try not to rush over as I take the letter. Thank you, mother and father. I close my door and run over to my desk, my heart beating like a drum as I rip it open, a coin dropping on my desk. I look in the envelope. Where's the letter? I sigh in despair. Don't tell me this coin is a participation award. I hunch over wearily. Coin. It suddenly light up and display a holographic screen of All Might up close to the camera. I'm here, kiddo. 𝐀𝐮𝐿's eyes widen behind his hair, his jaw nearly unhinging as it drops open like a maw. 𝐀𝐮𝐿. I close my mouth. It's All Might. I used to watch him on TV all the time when I was a kid. All Might. He speaks to 𝐀𝐮𝐿 with a smile, and no, I'm not really talking to you, it's just a recording. He puts his hands on his hips and backs up. They told me it'd be misleading to just talk. Clears his throat and bows. My apologies, young man. As you might be wondering, you're looking at the newest UA faculty member. 𝐀𝐮𝐿. I lean closer. Whoa, All Might's gonna work at you. But as All Might, he sighs. I'd love to keep talking, but I need to quicken this up. I've got a ton more of these to do. He gestures to the TV screen behind him, which displays 𝐀𝐮𝐿's points and test rating. As you can see, you passed the written tests like a champ and scored 31 villain points. 𝐀𝐮𝐿 perks up hopefully, but I'm sorry, there were candidates with much higher numbers. 𝐀𝐮𝐿 looks on in despair as his head goes down, his hands gripping his breathes tightly. 𝐀𝐮𝐿. I sigh heavily. Of course. All those other guys were destroying robots like nothing. Where did I think I'd get in? I clench my jaw while thinking, they were right, I am too weak to ever be a hero. I feel a lump form in my throat. All Might chuckles, but there's more. 𝐀𝐮𝐿 looks up in surprise. There was more to this test. The screen displays a new number under the title, Rescue Points, and beneath it, a score of 30. During your practical, you stopped and rushed in to help a girl you didn't even know and saved her from a whole gang of robots. I'd say you're almost as heroic and brave as me. He laughs boastfully as the points tally up. That leaves with 61 points total. The camera homes in on only All Might. You know what that means, don't you? 𝐀𝐮𝐿. My heart starts to race. No way. Don't tell me. Did I? I clench my fists and feel something: excitement, hope, possible happiness. These emotions I felt so rare in life were all rushing as I watched that smile on All Might's face. All Might. He puts his hand out. Examinee number 𝐀𝐮𝐿. Tatsuma. I am here to be the first person to congratulate you on making it to the Hero Academia. 𝐀𝐮𝐿 starts to shed tears from behind his hair, a red hue forming in his chest, but he doesn't notice it. Welcome to your high school, young man. 𝐀𝐮𝐿. I wipe my face with my arm. Thank you so much. The feed cuts off and my door opens behind me as I turn around and stand up, looking down and speaking softly. I got in. Mother. She stood in stilled silence, her mouth hanging open slightly and her pupils shrunk into her head. He eye twitches as 𝐀𝐮𝐿 nods, still looking down. You got in. She clenches her fists and looked utterly furious as she turns to 𝐻𝐿𝐵. You told me that wouldn't happen. Father. He nods indifferently. It seems it did happen. He looks to 𝐀𝐮𝐿. Well, good for you, boy. Mother. She is completely stunned. Is that all you're going to do? He can't go to UA. How long until someone there finds out he's part of our family? It will be too embarrassing to bear. She looks to 𝗏𝗘, you're not going. 𝗏𝗘, I look up, we had a deal. Father. Before Ryuka could reply, he stepped forward, we do. He looks to Ryuka, he did the work, it's only right that he goes ahead with it. He looks to 𝗏𝗘, try not to be an even bigger embarrassment. He turns and leaves the room as 𝗏𝗘 smiles while facing down Ryuka. She clenched her fists and looks to 𝗏𝗘, you little brat. She groans and storms off as 𝗏𝗘 looks shocked, fully expecting a slap or a pull of his hair, but she just left. He watches the door slam closed and smiles. Narration. 𝗏𝗘 is seen going to grab his phone as he texts Ida that he got in. It took a lot of help, but my life is changing completely. And thanks to hard work and some help, I finally get to do something I've always dreamed of. Becoming a hero. 𝗏𝗘 doesn't notices the crimson hue that begins to surround him with a black crackle of electricity. 33rd POV. A week ago exam monitoring room. A dark room is seen with several people sitting in front of a large screen with a leaderboard displayed on it. They all seem to be discussing the results as names can be seen on the board. 10th is 𝐒𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 Tokoyami, 9th is 𝗧𝗜𝗧𝗟𝗘, 8th is 𝗧𝗜𝗑 7th is Tenya Ida, 6th is 𝗏𝗘 Tatsuma, 5th is 𝐬𝗓𝗏 Kendo, 4th is Ibara Shiozaki, 3rd is Achiko Uraraka, 2nd is Ejiro Kirishima, and 1st is Katsuki Bakugo. One of the people speak up. Mike. He speaks up, check out the results from the exam. Woman voice. She spoke with an impressed tone. Wow, one student didn't even have rescue points. The screen displays the boy with the ash blonde hair fighting multiple faux villains at once and easily destroying them. Male voice. Speaks more muffled. He took down those faux villains like an ace. When most of the other examinees were running from the big obstacle, he was focused on letting the smaller targets get in close and then counterattacking. That kid is tough. Woman voice. She speaks up again. On the opposite end, the 8th place student has 0 villain points. Male voice. He continues as the screen displays the green-haired boy on the ground with a broken arm and legs. He's not the first UA hopeful to take out that giant robot. It's been a while since I saw someone blow it away with one attack. He said with an impressed tone. Mike. He speaks up in disagreement, but at what cost? Did you see how badly he injured himself? If you ask me, it's like his body isn't used to his quirk. Woman voice. She speaks up, changing the subject. And what about that boy in the 6th place spot? He had a pretty good performance. The screen displays 𝗏𝗘 fighting some of the faux villains and a clip of him defending that girl Snipe. Hums. While he wasn't exceptionally strong or flashy, he made up for it with his knowledge and some trained skill. And he even threw himself into danger and controlled the situation with a clear, level-headed mentality. He seemed calm and collected the entire time. It's definite qualities of a hero. Mike. He speaks up with his criticism. Yeah, but he was reckless. It was kind of like he was fighting on a whim, doing whatever came to mind. And he doesn't really look very heroic, I'd say a bit more beastly. He said with his arms crossed. White mouse. He spoke up from the center seat. Now, looks aren't what make a hero. This boy is a clear example of that. He said with a smile as a man who looked like a hobo stood a distance away, watching with a stern expression. 1 week later. 𝗏𝗘 POV. Morning. I had left home and climbed into the car with 𝐾𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫. It was surprising to me that mother hadn't pestered me since I got in. The joy I felt when father told her I could go to is still lingering in my heart, and even father's surprise when he heard I proved them wrong, though there were still doubts I'd have to disprove. 𝐾𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 looks back in the rear view mirror, seeing 𝗏𝗘 daydreaming, his face shining as he questions, excited. 𝗏𝗘, I perk up and look down. I know Ida will be there, but also a bunch of new people. I sigh heavily while thinking, I feel my spite satisfied by this accomplishment. Good job, 𝗏𝗘. I huff proudly. 𝐾𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫. He chuckles softly, I'm glad you're happy, young. They pull up at the school gates. Enjoy your day, 𝗏𝗘. 𝗏𝗘, I climb out the car, thanks. As the car drives off and turn to the school and walk toward the front gates, stopping just before them. Right. Here goes. I step foot into the school, and suddenly the first bell rings as a feeling of dread fills me. Late on the first day. Damn it. I take off running into the first-year door, roaming the halls, searching for the door. 𝐬𝐮𝐻𝑆 voice. His voice echoes out in the distance, "Sir, we still have an empty seat." 𝐻𝐿 follows the voice and runs in that direction, stooping at a massive door with one A on it. 𝐻𝐿. I swallow hard and slide the door open. Instantly, I see the glint of several eyes on me, including a pair of crimson ones from who I assume is the teacher, while I think to myself, "Oh God. Smite me now." 𝐬𝐿. He looks to the door with shock and happiness. Here he is. 𝐬𝐿. He glares at the door. "You're here to become a hero, yet you have the gall to come to my class late." 𝐻𝐿 flinches and starts sweating profusely. "What's your name, boy?" 𝐻𝐿. I look down and speak softly. 𝐻𝐿. Tatsuma, sir." 𝐬𝐿. His eyes stop glowing red and he sighs. "Well, Tatsuma, please take your seat." He gestures to the seat in front of an ash-blonde boy. 𝐻𝐿. I nod and speak softly, "Yes, sir." I walk with weak legs to the desk, feeling everyone's eyes on me as I look at the boy behind me. He looked familiar, but I can't recall. I sit down and look to the front. 𝐬𝐿. He sighs and looks to the front of the class. "Now that we're all here. My name is 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫. 𝐬𝐿. I am your homeroom teacher." The class makes a collective groan in their minds as he reaches down behind the podium and pulls blue tracksuits out from his sleeping bag. "Put these on and meet me outside." Short time skip. Boys' locker room. Still 𝐻𝐿 POV. We were in the locker room getting dressed from our uniform into our tracksuits. Except for me though, I could bring myself to even remove my shirt due to my exposed spine. I saw 𝐬𝐿 walk over. 𝐬𝐿. He smiles. "I'm glad we got to join UA together. I'm sure you're happy as well." His face drops as he sees 𝐻𝐿's distraught expression. "What's wrong?" 𝐻𝐿. I speak softly. "I can't get changed in front of all these guys. I don't even know them." I look up at him. "You've got to help me, 𝐬𝐿." 𝐬𝐿. He turns serious. "Very well. I will make it my duty to make sure you're comfortable." He turns his back to 𝐻𝐿 and blocks him from view as 𝐻𝐿 turns to face the lockers. 𝐻𝐿. I start removing my blazer, tie and shirt while thinking, "𝐬𝐿, you're the best friend ever." I remove my shirt, exposing my back. 𝐬𝐿. His glasses go opaque as he yells out, "There's nothing to see here, fellow classmates." This drew the attention of everyone who gave confused looks, 𝐻𝐿's expression turning dreadful. 𝐻𝐿. I froze while thinking, 𝐬𝐿. 𝐬𝐿. He smiles to himself, "I'm such a good friend." Meanwhile, a boy with multiple arms watched 𝐻𝐿 with intrigue, seemingly wondering as to why he's hiding his body from everyone else. Short time skip. Still 𝐻𝐿 POV. Training pitch. After getting dressed, we all met up outside with Mr. 𝐒𝐮𝐻. All of us grouped together while 𝐒𝐮𝐻 stood a short distance before us as he began talking about a Quirk assessment test for us to do. Class. In unison, a Quirk assessment test. 𝐻𝐿 stood on 𝐬𝐿's left. Brown-haired girl. She spoke up with her fists up in front of her, "But orientation, we're gonna miss it." 𝐒𝐮𝐻. He spoke dryly while facing away. "Room them. If you really want to make the big leagues, you can't waste time on pointless ceremonies." The class let out gasps while 𝐻𝐿 looks on straight-faced before 𝐒𝐮𝐻 continues. "Here at UA, we're not tethered to traditions." He looks back over his shoulder, which means I can run my class however I see fit. The class all looks shocked and concerned, some slightly fearful. 𝐻𝐿. I think to myself, for a hero teacher, he's pretty gloomy. I hope I never end up like that. I put my hands in my pockets. 𝐒𝐮𝐻. He turns slightly to look at them. "You've been taking standardized tests for most of your lives." Pulls out a phone, showing them the screen, "But you never got to use your quirks in physical exams before." The class watches seriously. The country's still trying to pretend we're all created equal by not letting those with the most power excel. It's not rational. One day the Ministry of Education will learn. He pauses before addressing the ash-blonde guy. "𝐵𝐿𝐲. You managed to get the most points on the entrance exam." 𝐵𝐿𝐲 perks up while 𝐻𝐿 turns to him along with the others. "What was you long-distance throw with a softball when you were in junior high?" 𝐵𝐿𝐲. His head cranes down slightly in thought. 67 meters, I think. 𝐻𝐿. I snap my fingers and think to myself, I think I remember him now. He's the JRK who made me clear a path for him. Jackass got the highest score too. Isn't it that bullies act big to overcompensate? I perk up, good scores, strong quirk, high confidence. He definitely has a small one. I nod to myself. 𝐻𝐿𝐴. He continues addressing 𝐒𝐿𝐴, oblivious to Draken's thoughts. Try doing it with your quirk. 𝐒𝐿𝐴 steps up and receives a all from 𝐻𝐿𝐴. As he steps into the pitching circle, as 𝐻𝐿𝐴 speaks up coolly, anything goes, just stay in the circle. 𝐒𝐿𝐴 looks at him to see if he's sure. Go on, you're wasting our time. 𝐒𝐿𝐴 turns to the front again with a straight face as he starts stretching his arms. Alright man. You asked for it. He steps forward and swings his arms back, before bringing them back up into a throwing stance as he throws his body forward, his arms coming being as he slugs the ball simultaneously with an explosion, sending the ball flying into the sky with several rings of smoke puffing off at Draken. I watch and scratch my cheek. Ding. That's hazardous. 𝐻𝐿𝐴. He speaks up while watching the hull soar in the distance. All of you need to know your capabilities. The ball starts plummeting in the distance, and the moment it lands on the ground, the distance comes in on his phone screen, before he turns to show it to the class. It's the most rational way in figuring out your potential as a pro hero. Shows them the phone screen, displaying 705, 2 meters as the whole class marvels at it and say it looks fun while displaying their excitement to use their quirks as they please Draken. I think to myself while scratching my cheek, I don't see how throwing a ball is considered fun. I sound like my dad. Oh god. 𝐻𝐿𝐴, with a blunt tone. So this looks like fun, huh? The class pauses looking confused again. You have 3 years here to become a hero. You think it's all gonna be games and playtime. He grins and tilts his head down. Idiots. Today you compete in 8 physical tests to gauge your potential. Whoever comes in last has none, and will be expelled immediately. The entire class look on in shock and gasp. Draken. I narrow my eyes behind my hair. The hell? How can someone just say you don't have potential? I clench my fist. This guy's such an butt. I don't notice the black crackle across my skin. 𝐻𝐿𝐴. He continues, like I said, I get to decide how this class runs. He brings his hand up to his forehead and looks up, pushing his hair back with a grin. Understand. The class prepares, Draken huffing as 𝐻𝐿𝐴 continues. If that's a problem, you can head home right now. Brown hair girl. She steps forward and speaks up in defiance. You can't send one of us home. I mean, we just got here. She continues to argue, even if it wasn't the first day, that isn't fair. 𝐻𝐿𝐴. He replies annoyedly, oh, and you think natural disasters are. The class exclaims in unison as he continues, or power-hungry villains. Or catastrophic incidents that wipe out entire cities. The world's full of unfairness. He speaks assertively. It's a hero's job to combat that unfairness. If you want to be a pro, you're gonna have to push yourself to the brink. For the next 3 years, UA will throw one terrible hardship after another at you. He continues inspirationally, so go beyond. Plus ultra style. Puts his hand up and waggles his finger toward himself with a smile. Show me it's no mistake that you're here. 𝐻𝐿𝐴 takes his bottle off his hip and sips on it while Draken brings his hands out his pockets and forms his sails that flicker across his skin. Draken. I huff and clench my fists. Okay then, let's tear right through this test. See. 𝐻𝐿𝐴, he speaks up again. Now then, we're just wasting time by standing here talking. He pauses and continues challengingly, let the games begin. T3 RDPOV. Few moments later, same location meter dash. Draken was up against a boy named 𝐻𝐿𝐴 and both got on their marks, with Draken forming his scales from his feet, up to his knees, before looking at 𝐻𝐿𝐴, his crimson eyes flashing which makes the boy yelp in fear. Robot. The robot camera timing the race calls out, ready. Draken gets ready, before a gunshot goes off and he takes off. 𝐻𝐿𝐴 stumbles and sprints as well, but Draken's inhuman speed brings him to the end quickly as the bot calls out for 2 seconds. Draken. He sighs a puff of steam out while thinking better than expected. He sees 𝐻𝐿𝐴 arrive with a score of 5.65 seconds as he turns away and walks off. 𝐻𝐿𝐴. He was watching off to the side, not bad. His quirk seems to have more than meets the eye. Grip strength test. Draken stood with the grip machine in hand and forms his scales over his left hand and arm, up till his shoulder, adding to his already inhuman strength as he squeezes tightly, getting a score of 380 kgs. 𝐻𝐿𝐴. Watching his jaw hanging. Incredible. Your training really paid off. He smiles softly. Draken. He waves his hand while looking down with a slight blush. It's nothing really. Standing long jump 𝗏𝗏 ran up to the jump point on his turn and forms scales across his legs and crouches down, before jump over, crossing the stretch on the jump and landing on the other end with a steamy huff. A black electricity running across his body from the exertion of his quirk. Repeated side steps. 𝗏𝗏 was doing side steps with his scales formed over his legs as he takes a break to catch his breath, wiping the sweat off his brow, only to catch the sight of a boy with purple ball for hair performing several side steps endlessly using his purple ball to bounce off of as 𝗏𝗏 gains a sweat drop on his forehead. Ball throw. After watching almost everyone take their turn and seeing the brown-haired girl throw the ball into infinity, 𝗏𝗏 stepped up as the second last thrower, sweating slightly now that all eyes were on him as he took a ball and stepped up to the pitching circle. 𝗏𝗏, in thought, if I've got a grip strength of over 300 kilos, I should have a good throw. He forms scales on his left arm and holding the ball tightly. Here goes. 𝐬𝐬𝐴 narrows his eyes. He already has inhuman prowess. His quirk seems to enhance that as well. Out of anyone here, he likely has the highest potential with how versatile his quirk is. He frowns. 𝗏𝗏 feels his arm back, a crackle of black electricity arcing up the length of his arm and the ball gaining a crimson hue as he throws his arm forward, the sphere soaring across the field as 𝗏𝗏's eyes widen behind his hair, surprised as the color of the ball after he pitched it. 𝗏𝗏. He stops himself from smiling in excitement as he watches the ball fly. Awesome. Where did that red energy come from? The ball lands a ways down the line as he turns to 𝐬𝐬𝐴, who shows his phone screen which displays 508. For meters, I'm so badass. 𝗏𝗏 smiles proudly. He's come a long way. Uraraka looks to 𝗏𝗏. You know that boy too, right? Tatsuma. Izuku looks over at 𝗏𝗏 as well. 𝗏𝗏. He nods. 𝗏𝗏 and I have been friends for years. He just recently started training to become a hero and I'm actually surprised at how fast he's progressing. Izuku, really? He's only started training recently and he's already that strong. Uraraka giggles. If you look at him, he really doesn't look that strong. 𝗏𝗏 walks off the pitch and Izuku steals his expression, walking over to the pitch with his own ball in hand. Everyone watches Izuku while 𝗏𝗏 comments on how Izuku should shape up, eliciting confusion from Bakugo, who claims Izuku is actually quirkless, only for 𝗏𝗏 to deny it and say he does have a quirk. 𝗏𝗏 keeps watching as Izuku suddenly reels his arm back and prepare to throw, only for him to only throw it up to 46 meters. The boy's expression turning into one of dread. 𝐬𝐴𝐴. He watches Izuku's confusion as to why his quirk didn't work, only to respond as his scarves and hair float, his eyes glowing crimson. I erased your quirk. Izuku gasps and tenses up while he continues. The judges for this exam were not rational enough. Someone like you should never be allowed to enroll at this school. Izuku, confused. Wait, you did what to my? He realizes and gasps slightly. Those goggles. I know you. He goes on to explain. You can look at someone and cancel out their quirk. The erasure hero, Eraserhead. The class all huddles together to brainstorm who he is while 𝗏𝗏 is stood off to the side like a lost child, staring at nothing, or more so, the person hiding behind the wall. All Might. He was watching them, before spotting 𝗏𝗏 staring at him. He ducks behind the wall. How'd he notice me? 𝐬𝐬𝐴 narrows his eyes at Izuku. You're not ready, you don't have control of your power. Izuku exclaims in shock. Were you planning to break your bones again? Counting on someone else to save your useless body? Izuku, he replies defiantly, no, that's not what I was trying to do. 𝐬𝐬𝐴's scarves shoot out and wraps around his arms, pulling him close to the teacher. 𝐬𝐬𝐴. He scolds with a frown. No matter what your intentions are, you would be nothing more than a liability in battle. You have the same reckless passion as another overzealous hero I know. One who saved 1,000 people by himself and became a legend. He was looking off to the side, then back to Izuku. But even with that drive, you're worthless if you can only throw a single punch before breaking down. Sorry, Midoriya, with your power, there's no way you can become a hero. He says coldly, but Izuku frowns at him while the others gasp. 𝐬𝐬𝐴 unwraps him and closes his eyes, deactivating his quirk. I returned your impractical quirk. Take your final throw. He commands and walks off, hurry and get it over with. Izuku stands back on the pitch. Ida once more questions what was said by the teacher while Bakugo speculates he told Izuku to leave, though Draken's hearing allowed him to hear everything. Beside him, Aoyama provided his hand to Uraraka's shoulder supportively while she questions who he was. Izuku held the ball and stood for a moment, only to step forward and reel back his arm, swinging it forward as he uses his quirk this time. Once the ball left his hand, it rocketed the air with a massive gale of air Draken. He watched it fly off and thought to himself, badass. Aizawa showed the 705. 3 meters on his phone's screen. Izuku, he speaks while facing away from the teacher, Mr. Aizawa. The man looks to him as he stands up and holds his right wrist, his right index finger broken and purple as he smiles triumphantly through the pain. You see, I'm still standing. Aizawa, he smiles widely, this kid. Draken nods and puts his hands in his pockets while Uraraka celebrates and Ida comments on the broken finger while Aoyama comments on the non-pretty look of his throw. Meanwhile Bakugo was completely distraught for some reason. Bakugo, he frowns and lets off small explosions from his hands, before running at Izuku, Uraraka and Ida both watching in surprise and concern while Draken just blankly stares. Deku, you be asserty. Tell me how you did that or you're dead. He charges, only for Aizawa's scarves to shoot out and wrap around him, restraining him as he struggles and speaks with a strained tone. How is your DMN scarf so strong? Aizawa, standing a distance away, because it's a capture weapon made out of carbon fiber and a special metal alloy. He speaks seriously, stand down. It's be wise to avoid making me use my quirk so much. He cranes his head up, it gives me serious dry eye. Class except Draken, thinking in unison, too bad, that power's amazing. Aizawa, he retracts his scarves and deactivates his quirk, you're wasting my time now. Turns away and waves his hand, on to the next tests. Izuku wearily moves away from Bakugo and runs to Ida, Draken and Uraraka, the latter worried about his broken finger time skip. After tests Draken POV same day still at UA after the last 3 tests, being physical fitness, I was left completely exhausted, but kept myself up as we all grouped together by Aizawa who stood near to the nearby training building. Aizawa speaks dryly, alright, time to give you your results. Pauses, then continues informatively, I've ranked you all from best to worst. You should probably have an idea of your standing already, I'll just put up the whole list, it's not worth going over each individual score. Draken, I had my hands in my pockets while waiting. For once in my life. I am confident in my efforts. I watched Aizawa's phone suddenly display a holographic list and saw my placement in 6th, my eyes widening behind my hair, that good. Hell yeah. Aizawa turns off the hologram, and I was lying, no one's going home. Everyone stared in shock, though Draken's appearance made it hard to tell as Aizawa smiles, that was just a rational deception to make sure you gave it your all in the tests. Izuku turns paper white while Ida and Uraraka scream in shock and Draken scratches his cheek. Black-haired girl, she speaks up with a bead of sweat on her cheek, I'm surprised the rest of you didn't figure that out. Sorry, I guess I probably should have said something. Draken, I mumble annoyedly, so. Aren't you clever? Black-haired girl, she blushes in embarrassment and looks away, I said I was sorry. Everyone talks amongst themselves in relief before Aizawa speaks up. Aizawa speaks dryly, that's it, we're done for the day. Turns and walks, pick up a syllabus from the classroom, read it over before tomorrow morning. Everyone moves out while Aizawa gives Izuku a letter for the school nurse time skip. End of the day still Draken POV leaving UA. I walked with Ida as we both spot Izuku leaving the school alone, looking exhausted. Ida walks up behind him and puts a hand on his shoulder while I stand nearby, watching Izuku tense up and look back. Izuku, surprised, hey there Ida. Sees Draken also, oh hey Tatsuma right? Draken nods at him. Ida asks seriously, how's the broken finger? Izuku, he relaxes, oh. He relaxes and shows Ida his bandaged finger. It's doing fine now thanks to recovery girl. He walks with Draken and Ida, the former walkage between both of them silently. Ida, holding his chin in thought, I was a bit concerned about Mr. Aizawa's approach to class. Puts his other hand up, pointing into the air, but I trust the school's judgment. UA has the top program. Folds his arms and closes his eyes, though lying is totally immoral. Izuku looks on at the constant gestures with a sweat drop on his cheek. 𝗀𝗘. I speak to Izuku softly with my gaze down. Don't mind him, he's got to move his hands to talk apparently. Ida tenses and yells defensively, I'm just expressive. 𝗬𝗏 shouts from behind, hey, wait up you three. Are you going to the station? I'll join you guys. She says with a smile. Ida speaks curiously, oh, you're the Infinity Girl. 𝗬𝗏 smiles and nods, holding her bag straps, closing her eyes. I'm Achiko 𝗬𝗏. Opens her eyes, let's see. Looks at Ida, you are Tenya Ida. Looks to 𝗀𝗘n, late boy is 𝗀𝗘n Tatsuma. 𝗀𝗘n gains a weary haze around him and she looks to Izuku, and you're Deku, right? Midoriya. Izuku, in shock, Deku. 𝗬𝗏 opens her eyes, yeah. Isn't that what Bakugo called you? During the fitness test he said, Deku 𝗬𝗧𝗟𝗘, right? Izuku, he blushes and starts making hand gestures. Well, my name's actually Izuku. Deku's what 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 calls me to make fun of me. He says with an awkward smile, not making eye contact. Ida. His hand goes to his chin, that's unsportsmanlike. 𝗀𝗘n nods and speaks softly, what and but. 𝗬𝗏 puts her hand behind her head, speaking apologetically, oh, I'm sorry. Izuku rubs the back of his head as she continues with a smile, you know what? I like Deku. Ball her fists with a determined look, it can make a great hero name. Smiles sweetly again, plus, I think it's kinda cute. Izuku, his face completely red, Deku it is. Ida, in shock, just like that. He continues while clawing the air with his hands, weren't you saying it was an insult? Izuku turns away, covering his face, reality shift. My whole world is upside down. He chuckles like a crushing schoolgirl. 𝗬𝗏, confused, wait what? 𝗀𝗘n sighs, shaking my head and speaking softly, don't ask. We eventually all four walk together, talkage to each other and getting to know one another as we all leave the school together, heading back to our homes. Marking my very first day of school. And I've already made friends. Narration, and just like that, I'm on my way to my goal of becoming a hero. I can't wait to see how this all goes. Oh yeah, just a reminder, this is the story of how I became the strongest hero in history. The three students disappear down the hill, the entire city of 𝗬𝗏 in the horizon, 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 the end of their first school day. The next day UA High, Class 1A 𝗀𝗘n, the massive school is seen with blue skies in the background, UA's hero course curriculum. 𝗀𝗘n and the others are seen in class while Present Mike is in front with a textbook. There are normal classes in the mornings, stuff like English and math. Present Mike turns to the class and questions, now, which if these 4 sentences contains a mistake. The class has a unified thought, so boring. While Bakugo thought, this really is. And 𝗀𝗘n in front of him was thinking, something smells like sweat. And burnt caramel. Present Mike yells out, hey everybody, look alive. He puts his arm up, grammar rules. He goes on while some of the class members are focusing HRD on their schoolwork. Sometime later, cafeteria. The bustling cafeteria is seen with all the students seated at tables with their food while 𝗀𝗘n is sat with Izuku, Ida and 𝗬𝗏 at their table. All 3 have food except him since he doesn't eat in front of anybody. Suddenly the guy who sorts out the food approaches, making Izuku's eyes widen and Ida shares his shock. The hero teacher gives a thumbs up, white rice is the perfect comfort food, isn't it? 𝗬𝗏 nods while eating, this is super good. Izuku looked like he was about to start fangirling while 𝗀𝗘n just watched in silence. Short time skip. Afternoon class 1A. Everyone was once again sat in class, waiting for their hero basic training to begin. Aizawa wasn't in class and everyone was silent with anticipation when they started hearing steps approach from the hall and looked to the door, when suddenly, the door slid open, a loud and boasting voice calling out, I am. Hurry. Everyone looked over to see All Might in a red, yellow and white suit with a blue cape as he held the door frame and leaned in the classroom, coming through the door like a hero. Everyone exclaimed in awe and excitement. Yellow-haired guy clenched his fists and called out, "Whoa! I can't believe it's really All Might." Red-haired guy speaks up next. "He really is a teacher at this school. This year's going to be totally awesome." The green-haired girl nearby spoke up next. "Hey, look, is he wearing his 𝐀𝐮𝐬𝐴𝐺 costume?" They watch All Might march his way over to the front podium of the class. All Might, with his instant smile, places his fists on his hips and yells out, "Welcome to the most important class at UA High. Think of it as Heroing 101. 𝐴𝐺 scratches his cheek. "Here, you will learn the basics of being a pro, and what it means to fight in the name of good." He pulls a flexing pose and stands up again, pulling out a card that reads Battle. Let's get into it. Today's lesson. We'll pull no punches. 𝐴𝐺 yells out from behind 𝐴𝐺, "Fight training." From behind 𝐴𝐺, Izuku speaks up with concern, "Real combat." 𝐴𝐺 huffs while All Might continues, but one of the keys of being a hero is, takes a remote and pushes a button, causing slots to slide out the nearby wall as he points, "These were designed for you based on your Quirk registration forms and the requests you sent before school started." The class exclaims and cheers in excitement, "Get yourselves suited up, and then, meet me at Training Ground Beta." The class says in unison, "Yes, sir." Sometime later, 𝐀𝐮 City, Beta. All Might is stood in the false city while facing the entrance/exit. From within the darkness, sounds of footsteps can hear head as the first students come into the light, all of them suited up in their hero suits. While All Might speaks, "They sew clothes make the pros, ladies and gentlemen, and behold, you are the proof." They all come into the shining light except for 𝐴𝐺. "Take this to heart. From now on you are all heroes in training." He sees them all stand ready. "You're getting me all ramped up. You look so cool." With his ever-wide smile, "Now, are you ready to get started? You bunch of newbies?" Izuku and Uraraka were talking after he arrived in his homemade suit, before Uraraka looked around and realized something. "Hey, where's Tatsuma?" Izuku looks around as well and seems confused. "Yeah, I don't see him anywhere." Suddenly, they hear heavy steps coming from the dark entrance. Them and a few other students looking back to see a sudden flash of crimson eyes. Yellow-haired guy looked a little freaked out. "What the hell? Who's that?" Soon, the figure came into the light to reveal 𝐴𝐺 in his hero costume, his hair slicked back and his face covered by a large mask. Izuku and Uraraka think in unison, "Tatsuma." The pink girls speak with a smile. "That's Quiet Boy, right? He looks so freaky in that costume." The yellow-haired guy was looking on with concern while 𝐴𝐺 thought to himself, "This mask is bigger than I wanted it to be." Huffs. Before he sees Izuku and Uraraka approach, thanks to his coverings, he speaks more freely. "Hey, guys." Uraraka smiles with a sweat drop on her face. "Wow. Your costume is..." But 𝐴𝐺 looked at her suit and noted how tightly it fitted her, his mind racing as he thinks to himself again, "Since when was she so?" Swallows and continues thinking, "Well built." Somehow, he blushes through the mask, making Uraraka and Izuku exclaim in unified shock, "How is that even possible?" 𝐴𝐺 huffs out a puff of smoke while Mineta stood nearby and gave a thumbs up. "I love this school." Afterward, they all grouped up in front of All Might. 𝐴𝐺 stood beside Iida, who was clad in an entire suit of armor. Thankfully, it was noticeable since Iida was always that over-the-top kind of person. All Might spoke up, "Now that you're ready, it's time for combat training." Iida put his hand up. "Sir." He asks and continues, "This is the fake city from our entrance exam. Does that mean that we will be conducting urban battles again?" All Might maintained his smile and replied, "Not quite." His puts 2 fingers up. "I'm going to move you 2 steps ahead." He continues in an explanatory manner, "Most of the villain fights you see on the news takes place outside. However, statistically speaking, most of the dastardly evildoers operate indoors." 𝐴𝐺 perks up and sees the image of his mother in his head while thinking, "No wonder she never goes outside." All Might continues, "Think about it, backroom deals, home invasions, secret underground lairs. Truly intelligent criminals stay hidden in the shadows. For this exercise, you will be split into teams of good guys and bad guys, and fight 2-on-2 indoor battles." The green-haired girl speaks up, "Isn't this a little advanced?" All Might is quick to reply with the balling of his fist, "The best training is what you get on the battlefield. But remember, you can't just punch a robot this time, you're dealing with actual people now." Momo speaks up with a question, "Sir, will you be the one deciding who wins?" 𝐻𝐿𝐴 also speaks up with his own twisted question, "How much can we hurt the other team?" 𝗬𝗏𝗏 is next, "Do we need to worry about the losers being expelled, like earlier?" 𝐸𝐵 is next, "Will you be splitting us up based on chance or based comparative skill?" 𝐿𝐴Oyama also follows us with an unrelated question, "Isn't this cape lovely?" 𝐒𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 looked at him awkwardly while All Might was keeping his irritation at bay. 𝗧𝗟𝗘 yawned while standing in silence. All Might pulled out a tiny script book in his giant hands. "Listen up. The situation is this. The villains have hidden a nuclear missile somewhere in their hideout. The heroes must try to foil their plans. To do that, the good guys either have to catch the evil's doers, or recover the weapon. Likewise, the bad guys succeed if they protect their payload, or capture the heroes." 𝗧𝗟𝗘 thinks to himself, kind of like a video game. All Might pulls out a yellow box labeled, "Lots, times limited, and will pick teams by choosing lots." 𝐸𝐵 speaks up in protest, "Isn't there a better way?" 𝗍𝒂 butts in, "Think about it. Pros usually have to team up with heroes from other agencies on the spot, so maybe that's the reason why we're seeing that here." He says with a smile. 𝐸𝐵 relaxes and lowers his hands, "I see, life is a random series of events." He bows to All Might, "Excuse my rudeness." 𝗧𝗟𝗘 speaks up with his eyes narrowed, "You could start avoiding these things if you just listen, 𝐸𝐵." The latter tenses up with a weary aura. All Might spins around, "No sweat." Puts his fist in the air, "Let's draw." They all draw lots and 𝗧𝗟𝗘 ended up being in Team A with 𝗍𝒂. 𝗧𝗟𝗘 looks to 𝗍𝒂, "It'll work." 𝗍𝒂's eyes widen as he thinks to himself, "What does he mean by that?" All Might sets up 2 more boxes labeled heroes and villains as he puts his hands inside. "I declare that the first teams to fight will be," pulls out a white and black ball, "these guys. Team A, 𝗧𝗟𝗘 and 𝗍𝒂, and Team D, 𝐸𝐵 and 𝐻𝒂. 𝗧𝗟𝗘 looks to 𝐸𝐵, "Cool, so we're fighting." 𝐸𝐵 nods nonchalantly while 𝗍𝒂 and 𝐻𝒂 seem to have separate reactions. 𝗍𝒂 was slightly fearful while 𝐻𝒂 was grinning. All Might explains, "Team A will be the heroes, Team D, the villains. Everyone else can head to the monitoring room to watch." The class replies in unison, "Yes, sir." 𝗍𝒂 looks to 𝐻𝒂, who's glaring at him and looks away in fear. 𝗧𝗟𝗘 was watching before the boy clenched his fist and looked back at Katsuki, who was surprised by this and frowned. They followed All Might to the building they'd be operating from. All Might gave 𝐻𝒂 and 𝐸𝐵 instructions, "Bad guys, you can G on in and get set up. In 5 minutes, the heroes will be let loose and the battle will start." 𝗧𝗟𝗘 stands with 𝗍𝒂 while 𝐻𝒂 and 𝐸𝐵 went inside with advice on villainy from All Might. 𝗍𝒂 looked to 𝗧𝗟𝗘 as he stood with his arms folded under his cloak. Tatsuma." 𝗧𝗟𝗘 glares and he yelled out in worry, "What did I say?" 𝗧𝗟𝗘 sighs and closes his eyes. "Just call me 𝗧𝗟𝗘, it's my actual name." Opens his eyes in a frown, "We're sort of acquaintances since 𝐸𝐵 hangs with you and 𝗬𝗏𝗏, so you might as well call me by my name." 𝗍𝒂 was a little hurt as he spoke softly, "I actually thought we were kind of becoming friends." 𝗧𝗟𝗘 perks up at that and thinks to himself, "Why would he want to be my friend?" Huffs and lets his arms hang loose. "The 5 minutes is almost over, we should prepare to move in." Looks at the building, then back to 𝗍𝒂, who was suddenly sweating profusely through his costume. Are you okay?" 𝗍𝒂 spoke with a dreary tone, just peachy." He looks to 𝗧𝗟𝗘, "It's just, because we're up against 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫, and they're 𝐸𝐵 too. We have to be on our guard, who knows what they'll pull." 𝗧𝗟𝗘 shakes his head, "Right, the explosive guy. And 𝐸𝐵's not really worrying to me." 𝗍𝒂 looks at him in surprise, "How come?" He speaks with intrigue, "You two seem really close." Nods, "Pretty much." Thinks back to the start of middle school. "I've known 𝐸𝐵 since the beginning of middle school." In his memory, 𝗧𝗟𝗘 is seen in his uniform being dropped off by 𝗬𝐻𝐿. As he gets out the car, a boy running extremely fast rams into him. "I found him annoying at first and wanted him to leave me alone. But he insisted on apologizing to me for running into me." Looks up at the building. Eventually, he never stopped following me around for whatever reason. I never gave him any reason to stick around, he just did. Deku was amazed as he spoke softly. Wow, it seems like he really wanted to be your friend. He thinks back to his past with Katsuki. I was like that with 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫. But unlike you, he never accepted me as a friend. 𝗧𝗏𝗏 looks to him with a fused brow as he continues. He's amazing, his strength, his confidence, his ambitions and his quirk, they're so much better than mine. He looks up with determination, but that just means I have to do better. Puts his mask up on his mouth. I refuse to lose today. 𝗧𝗏𝗏 nods and reaches up, pulling the snout of his mask down as the jaws clamp shut. Okay, I'll match your energy. 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐦𝐚𝐫𝐲 clenches his fists, 'cause I've got a fight waiting for me in there. 𝐒𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 nods as they both speak in unison, as a team. Suddenly, 𝐿𝐿𝐼𝐻's voice comes out over the loudspeakers around the city. Alright, let's begin the indoor combat training. Team A and Team D, your time starts now. 𝗧𝗏𝗏 and 𝐒𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 immediately run to the alley and look for a way inside. Secretly in the monitoring room, 𝐿𝐿𝐼𝐻 was stood with the rest of the class in a large monitoring room with massive screens displaying multiple camera feeds in the building. He speaks up to all of them with some advice. Pay attention, kids. Think about what you would do, he says with his ever-fading smile as he holds a clipboard. The others watch in silence as 𝐒𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 and 𝗧𝗏𝗏 are seen limping into the building through a window. Back with 𝗧𝗏𝗏 and 𝐒𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐴, the two boys walk through the halls carefully, stopping to carefully check around each corner, ensuring no one can sneak up on them. 𝗧𝗏𝗏 sniffs the air and frowns, remembering a scent in the air as he yells out. Looking above, 𝐒𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐴, move it. He jumps forward, scales forming around his arms and upper body as he spots 𝗫𝐻𝐻 come around the corner as he lights an explosion into 𝗧𝗏𝗏 at point blank. 𝐒𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐴 jumps back in shock. 𝗧𝗏𝗏. The smoke clears to reveal 𝗫𝐻𝐻 holding 𝗧𝗏𝗏 against the wall by his mask, the boy groaning as his scales shed while 𝗫𝐻𝐻 yells out to 𝗧𝗏𝐻𝐻, lucky nerd. This lizard bastard sniffed me out. Leans over to 𝗧𝗏𝗏. I could tell you had sharp senses, you smelt my nitroglycerin sweat. 𝗧𝗏𝗏 seemed unconscious. 𝗮𝐻𝐻 clenched his jaw and frowned while trembling slightly. 𝗧𝗏𝗏 had enhanced sense. That means he smelt 𝗫𝐻𝐻 coming and jumped in to protect me. Present Mike, Katsuki 𝗫𝐻𝐻. He sweats a nitroglycerin-like substance that he can ignite from his palms to create deadly explosions. It also makes him smell like burnt caramel. 𝗫𝐻𝐻 lets 𝗧𝗏𝗏 go and turns to 𝗮𝐻𝐻. Come on and fight me, your little friend can't protect you now. 𝗮𝐻𝐻 replied with slight anger. I knew you'd come after me first. And I figured you'd try to catch me by surprise. He looks to 𝗧𝗏𝗏, who's still on the ground. 𝗧𝗏𝗏 wouldn't have gone down so easy. He's playing to the plan. He thinks back to their plan and how 𝗮𝐻𝐻 told 𝗧𝗏𝗏 he knows how to stop 𝗫𝐻𝐻 in the monitoring room. The purple ball-headed boy spoke up. He almost got the jump on them. But he still took out Tatsuma. The red-haired boy frowned and yelled out, a sneak attack, 𝗫𝐻𝐻. What kind of a man pulls cheap CRP like that? Punches his fist into his palm before 𝗿𝐿𝐼𝐻 spoke up with a smile. It's a viable strategy. He's playing the part, acting like a true villain would. The pink girl spoke up with excitement and concern. It didn't work. Tatsuma blocked it really quickly. But he looks like he's down. They exclaim as 𝗫𝐻𝐻 is seen rushing back in to attack 𝗮𝐻𝐻 in the building. 𝗫𝐻𝐻 starts rushing toward 𝗮𝐻𝐻, his arms reeled back to attack as he yells out, I wanna hurt you so bad they'll have to stop the fight. From behind him, the eye holes in 𝗧𝗏𝗏's mask light up red and he rises up while 𝗫𝐻𝐻 lifts his right arm to attack, but 𝗮𝐻𝐻 grabs it. Suddenly 𝗧𝗏𝗏 looks over. You made a mistake, bomb guy, because 𝗮𝐻𝐻 knew exactly what you do. He watches 𝗮𝐻𝐻 skillfully felipe 𝗫𝐻𝐻 over his shoulder and slam the boy onto his back, winding him as he groans. 𝗮𝐻𝐻 stood, breathing heavily as he spoke to 𝗧𝗏𝗏. Thank you, Tatsuma. You bought me enough time to figure him out. 𝗧𝗏𝗏 glares and he yelps. Sorry, I mean 𝗧𝗏𝗏. 𝗫𝐻𝐻 rises up with pure fury, realizing that 𝗮𝐻𝐻 knew his moves and analyzed everything about him, pissing him off to no end. These two couldn't have gotten a step ahead of me. His fists clench tightly. 𝗮𝐻𝐻 yells at him while he sits on the floor. You can call me Deku. But I'm not the same helpless, defenseless kid anymore. You hear me? I've changed. From now on, Deku is the name of a hero. In the monitoring room, 𝐬𝐻𝗚 perks up, realizing he actually decided to take that name. 𝐒𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 gets to his feet, 𝐷𝗏𝗏 behind him and 𝐒𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 in front of him as he tenses his hands and speaks with a hateful tone. Deku sees 𝐒𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 trembling. You're shaking in your boots, you're so scared. Lights off small explosions, but you want to fight me anyway. That's why I hate you. 𝐒𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 looks to 𝐷𝗏𝗏. I'll handle him. 𝐷𝗏𝗏 nods and yells back, I'm counting on you. He forms scales on his legs and sprints down the hall, the final battle of the training quickly setting into motion as Tatsuma races to reach the bomb and Ida, who's likely guarding it while leaving 𝐒𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 with the dangerously unstable Katsuki. 𝐷𝗏𝗏 was running through the halls and upstairs, his scales formed on his legs providing swift movement and strength, though he was not feeling too good about leaving 𝐒𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 behind with that explosive psycho, but it was for the mission. He runs through the halls, moving as fast as he can as he hears a voice in the distance. 𝐒𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫. Come on. Give me a status report. Where are you? 𝐷𝗏𝗏's pupils narrow to slits as he tracks the voice. He puts a hand to his ear beneath his mask. 𝐒𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫, I've got Ida's location. Present mic. The scene freezes. 𝐷𝗏𝗏 Tatsuma. His quirk, Dragon Scale. It provides him with superhuman capabilities and senses, as well as gives him the ability to sprout scales. They're not the strongest though, and they get weaker as he grows more. The scene moves again in the monitoring room. The red-haired guy is first to speak up. Hey, check it out. Tatsuma's already getting close to the weapon. He smiles widely. All Might has a smile on his face. Young Tatsuma may have left his teammate with a deadly adversary, but it shows their ability to trust one another's abilities. Take notes, people. These two are taking the hero part seriously. The green-haired girl in the green suit speaks with her finger at her lips. Tatsuma seems so quick, completely different to how he looks in class. The class nods in unison as they think about 𝐷𝗏𝗏 in a thought bubble as a nerdish shy guy with shaggy overgrown hair. The yellow-haired guy comments, check it out, 𝐒𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫's on the move again. They all look back at the scene of 𝐒𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 charging 𝐒𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 back in the building. Same time 𝐷𝗏𝗏 sniffs the air, filtering through his mask as he honed in on a specific scent of Ida's mufflers. He knew that scent, he spent weeks training with it, and he sprinted toward the staircase ahead. He ran up and made it to a floor filled with support columns, sneaking quietly and hiding behind one column as he listened to Ida speaking. He stands with his arms folded. 𝐒𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 definitely has a villainous side, and that's exactly what we need to succeed in this mission. Hums and looks up a bit. I need to temporarily devote myself to criminal intent. Looks at his hand. Yes, I won't fail. This trial and risk bringing shame down on the Ida family name. Clenches his fist. That means, turns serious. I must now embrace evil, to become a hero. Suddenly suches in his personality. Looking back, behold. I am the personification of villainy. 𝐷𝗏𝗏 stares blankly while hiding. He thinks to himself, he takes these things too serious sometimes. Sneaks around the columns. Thanks to my scales, I can keep them compacted to my feet, providing cushioning on the soles that make my steps quieter. I call it dragon padding. He stops by the column right beside the bomb. How do I get to it without Ida noticing? He's faster than me in short bursts, so jumping out won't work. Ida folds his arms with his eyes closed as he thinks aloud, though, I must take 𝐷𝗏𝗏 into account. His growth has been exponential and he's now capable enough to go up against me. I must prove myself to him as a villain. Clenches his fist. 𝐷𝗏𝗏 pauses when hearing that, damn it Ida, you're so sappy. He clenches his fists and steps out from the pillar. Stop where you are, villain. The two were a few feet from each other. If I keep a closer distance, he can't get away easily. He forms scales from his elbow down. Don't move. Ida gets in a defensive stance with his fist clenched in front of himself. If it isn't 𝐷𝗏𝗏. I've been expecting you. When 𝐒𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 ran off to engage with Midoriya, I knew you'd come alone. Holds his arms at his sides. Your quirk gives your superhuman capabilities and the power to grow scales. It makes you an excellent close-quarters combatant. But with my speed, you won't lay a finger on me, or the weapon. Wah. I figured as much. His eyes dart around the room as he brings his hand to his earpiece. Midoriya, I found Ida and the weapon. Pauses. He's monologuing. 𝐬𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫's voice comes into 𝗀𝗘𝐿 over the comm. Okay, give me your location. 𝗀𝗘𝐿 replies, the middle of the 5th floor. 𝐬𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 mentions how that's right above him and begins to tell 𝗀𝗘𝐿 his plan to take them both down as 𝗀𝗘𝐿 nods, got it. He looks back to 𝐬𝐿. It won't be long until you're in cuffs, villain. He thinks to himself, this roleplay thing is so cringe. 𝐬𝐿 laughs maniacally, I see, then color me impressed, hero, because it won't be long before you're defeated. He suddenly grabs the bomb, much to 𝗀𝗘𝐿's shock, and runs with it. You thought you had me cornered, didn't you? 𝗀𝗘𝐿 is in utter shock, see. I didn't expect that. He runs after 𝐬𝐿 to zooms around the room. I can't get the weapon at this rate. He stops and watches 𝐬𝐿 zooming around him as the latter yells out, as you can see, 𝗀𝗘𝐿, I expected to be cornered. In a room like this, I figured that mobility is limited and I knew that if I could carry the weapon, I could keep it safe and stall for time. 𝗀𝗘𝐿 frowns behind the mask while looking all around the room. 𝗀𝗘𝐿 speaks up, and how do you know I won't find a way to stop your strategy? 𝐬𝐿 replies matter-of-factly, you forget we trained together, and I know that you don't have the maneuverability that I do. 𝗀𝗘𝐿 clenches his fists at that as 𝐬𝐿 stops running, now a distance away with the weapon. Now you see how truly hopeless your situation is. He laughs villainously. 𝗀𝗘𝐿 lets out a sigh and lifts his hands. You're right. I am completely stumped. Suddenly, there's a massive explosion that rumbles below, shaking the entire building as 𝗀𝗘𝐿 and 𝐬𝐿 stand defensive, making surprised sounds. 𝐬𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫, what the hell are you doing down there? 𝐬𝐿 grunts and puts his hand to his earpiece. 𝗫𝗑𝐿, what is going on down there? Did you cause that blast? 𝗀𝗘𝐿 forms scales from his thighs down and hunches over in thought. I'm sorry, 𝐬𝐿. But you don't know everything about my training. 𝗀𝗘𝐿 has a flashback to when he began training late at night at his home. The estate had large areas filled with trees and 𝗀𝗘𝐿 could be seen bounding off of them, trying to get better at his movement as he kicks off of each tree, bouncing between them as he comes back to the current situation as he kicks off the ground. 𝐬𝐿 looks over in surprise. He reaches back to grab the bomb and runs the other way. Nice try, but it won't be that easy. He looks back to see 𝗀𝗘𝐿 grip his scale-clad hands into a column and kick off it towards 𝐬𝐿 once more. Too fast. He runs again. This was not part of your training. 𝗀𝗘𝐿 kicks off another column to intercept 𝐬𝐿's direction. Yeah, at least not the training I did at your place. 𝐬𝐿 slides to a stop and tries to turn, but 𝗀𝗘𝐿 plants himself on another column and bounds off it, flying straight toward 𝐬𝐿. I've got you now. 𝐬𝐿's eyes widen. Oh, Top Gear. His engines suddenly release a powerful burst of power and he flies across the room with the weapon, causing 𝗀𝗘𝐿 to miss and land on all fours on the floor as he looks to 𝐬𝐿 in shock. That was close. He frowns at 𝗀𝗘𝐿. I underestimated you. Luckily it wasn't too fatal. 𝗀𝗘𝐿 grunts in annoyance and stands up with a frown behind his mask. Should have guessed it wouldn't be as easy. Come on, 𝐬𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫. Suddenly, 𝐬𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫's voices comes in from 𝗀𝗘𝐿's earpiece. Come in. What's the situation? 𝗀𝗘𝐿 replies firmly, I almost had him, but he's got the distance again. 𝐬𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 goes silent and 𝗀𝗘𝐿 sighs heavily, speaking aloud to himself. This is going crappy. In the monitoring room, the red-haired guy speaks up while the whole class is watching. Sir, isn't this getting a little out of hand? That 𝗫𝗑𝐿 is acting real crazy. Looks to All Might, he's gonna kill him. All Might speaks seriously with a smile. Not so, he thinks to himself before speaking into the mic on the desk. 𝗫𝗑𝐿, use that stored-up power again, and I'll stop this fight. Your team will lose. Uraraka speaks up. Tatsuma and 𝐬𝐿 are going at it too. They both seem to be giving it their all. The black-haired girl in the revealing costume speaks up matter-of-factly. They seem to be aware of each other's strengths and weaknesses, but Tatsuma still got the upper hand for a moment. They are playing their parts perfectly in their own ways. Though, 𝐬𝐿 seems more out of character than 𝗀𝗘𝐿, who is studying his opponent, maintaining communication and holding his own at the same time. The whole class gives her shocked looks at how much she had gathered from this. Back in the building, 𝗀𝗘𝐿 and 𝐬𝐿 are still staring each other off. 𝗀𝗘𝐿 notices how 𝐬𝐿's mufflers are giving off smoke, telling him that 𝐬𝐿 won't be able to be as fast anymore and decides to use that to his advantage. when suddenly, Izuku's voice comes into his comm, the pillar by the window. Get him there now. 𝐻𝐿 immediately springs into action and goes after Ida, giving the look of a desperate act as Ida scoffs and grabs the weapon again. He shouts out, "This won't work a second time." He isn't any slower as he runs away. 𝐻𝐿 doesn't try to intercept and instead bounds off the pillars in the room, guiding Ida's direction to where Izuku said, "He's not saying anything. Did his teammate fall from that blast earlier? This must be his only way to win before 𝐵𝐿𝐻 gets here." He stops in front of the window in the room. 𝐻𝐿 flies into the center of the room, and his feet slide across the floor, kicking up dust as he breathes out steam in big huffs. "You're faster than I expected in this space." Plays along. Ida laughs evilly. "So you've noticed, 𝐻𝐿?" 𝐻𝐿 stays tensed, waiting for the moment to come as he lets Ida monologue. "It shouldn't be long now until the timer runs out and you've failed." His eyes narrow suddenly. 𝐻𝐿 sees the floor near Ida crumble and crouches as Ida makes a surprised sound. The ground bursts open with an incredible force and 𝐻𝐿 jumps forward, clearing the newly made hole while Ida falls through. "This is it. Sorry, Tenya." Ida yells out in fright. "What?" He grips onto the edge of the hole as 𝐻𝐿 reaches out with both hands and grips onto the weapon while also slamming into it simultaneously as he groans while Ida shouts out while dangling no. The weapon. 𝐻𝐿 huffs and slides down. "Yay." He drops off and turns to where Ida is hanging as he walks over and crouches down. "Need a hand, Drama King?" Ida looks up while straining. "Yes please, my friend." 𝐻𝐿 rolls his crimson eyes and pulls Ida up onto solid ground, the latter sighing in relief. Suddenly, All Might's voice comes in over the loudspeaker. "The hero team. 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐦𝐚𝐫𝐲." 𝐻𝐿 falls back with fatigue as his black scales fall from his breathed legs and off his hands, only for Ida to catch him and start frantically yelling in worry. Down below, Izuku is seen being carted away by robots as well, both heroes being the ones on the ground and not the villains. A bit later in the monitoring room. After a while, the teams that went in were in the monitoring room except for Izuku, who sustained too many injuries from fighting 𝐵𝐿𝐻. 𝐻𝐿 felt even more guilty for leaving him now as he looks down while All Might was looking at the scores of the teams. The teacher spoke up. "Well, from these results," turns to the two teams, "the MVP of this exercise is young Tatsuma." 𝐻𝐿 breaks away from his thoughts and looked up in shock as the rest of the class exclaimed. 𝐻𝐿 spoke freely thanks to his mask. "Really? Why not Midoriya? Everything was his idea." The green-haired girl suddenly spoke up too. "Yeah, and Midoriya was the one who communicated for Tatsuma to get Ida into position so he could get the weapon, right?" 𝐻𝐿 nods in agreement. All Might hummed and put his hands on his hips. "Valid questions. Why didn't I choose one of those two?" Suddenly, the black-haired girl put her hand up and spoke, even though it was a rhetorical question. "Sir, I can tell you why." She closed her eyes and explained with her eyes closed. Tatsuma played the role of hero fluidly without having to change his personality in any way. He adapted well and even risked his own safety to defend his teammate. He and Midoriya had trust in one another, but even then, unlike 𝐵𝐿𝐻 and Midoriya, he and Ida had a history. But he didn't allow any personal relationship with Ida to get in the way of his mission. He played the part of hero expertly. 𝐻𝐿 speaks flatly. "I think Mr. Might wanted to answer that." Points to All Might, who is trembling with the tension of his pose as the black-haired girl blushes again and looked away and spoke with her cheeks puffed out. "I didn't know that." 𝐻𝐿's crimson eyes narrowed. He huffed and spoke straightforwardly. "Don't avoid it, just be better." The black-haired girl gains a purple depressed haze around her. The class thought in unison, "Wow, he's really different with the mask on." All Might sighed and finally spoke up again, pulling out the hero and villain boxes again as he shouted up, "Now then, let's blow this joint." Gives a thumbs up. "Let's move on to the next match. Think about everything you saw and discussed as you tackle this training for yourself." The class who hadn't gone yet spoke in unison, "Yes, sir." 𝐻𝐿 looks to 𝐵𝐿𝐻, who is staring blankly at nothing and shakes his head, finding his dislike for the boy growing as he walks to join the rest of the class group. As the rest of the class went about their exercises throughout the day, the craziest one being Todoroki's, as he single-handedly defeated his opponents while also making the rest of the place frigid cold. Time skip. End of the class training ground exit. After the training was over, They were all stood by the exit with All Might in front of them. 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 was stood with Ida as usual, and All Might shouted out with his usually cheery and ever-smiling expression, "That's a wrap. You really stepped up to the plate. And we didn't have any major injuries, except for Midoriya. You should be proud." Gives a thumbs up. Excellent first day of training all around. The green-haired girl stepped forward and spoke with her hand up. "It's nice to hear some encouraging words after our homeroom class." They all get the image of a grinning 𝐒𝐮𝐬𝐽 as they nod together. Mr. 𝐒𝐮𝐬𝐽 was kind of a buzzkill. She scratches her cheek. All Might throws his arms out and shouts, "I'm happy to bring such staggering positivity to my former school." Puts his hand up. "Now, folks, I should go check on young Midoriya's progress. Now watch how a pro exits." He gets into a sprint stance, like he's got somewhere to be. He runs off with explosive speed and causes powerful winds as the class gasps. The yellow-haired guy speaks up, "Okay you guys, that is a hero." Tail guy speaks up, "I'll never be able to run that fast." Purple ball guy covers his mouth. Speaks, "Super awesome." Time skip, end of the day. Class 1A. Later on, by the end of all classes, the sky was a vibrant orange outside and everyone was packing their bags. 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 was doing the same while in his uniform again, before a shadow looms over him, making him freeze up as a voice spoke up behind him, "Hey, Tatsuma, right?" 𝐀𝐿𝐴 turned to see the tentacle guy, bird guy, quiet guy, big lip guy, purple ball guy and red-haired guy as he speak with his hand over his mouth. Yeah. He looks away and thinks to himself, "I hate that name." He speaks up again, "Just call me 𝐀𝐿𝐴 though." The tentacle guy forms a mouth on one of his arms. "I'm 𝐒𝐻𝐼. Red hair guy, "Nice to meet ya, I'm Ejiro Kirishima." Bird guy, "I am 𝐶𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫. Gestures to quiet guy, "And this is 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫." The purple ball guy jumps up and yells, "I'm 𝐼𝐻𝐼𝐿𝐴. And finally, lip guy, "I'm 𝐸𝐾𝐻𝐼, but you can just call me 𝐬𝐶𝐲." 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 gives them all an acknowledging nod. Kirishima speaks up, "Some of us just wanted to say how good you did in today's training." He chuckles as a few of them nod in agreement. "Your quirk are those scales, right? Do they make you stronger?" 𝐀𝐿𝐴 nods, speaking muffled by his hand, "Yeah, a bit." Looks down and removes his hand, using it to scratch his cheek, "But your quirks are probably better. You all seem pretty capable." The group of boys thought in unison, "He's like a whole different person." They all spoke with him for a while as he kept his mouth covered the whole time, or looked down so none of them could see it, though 𝐀𝐿𝐴 didn't notice 𝐒𝐻𝐼𝐴 staring their way. Just then, the doors slide open and it was Izuku. Kirishima looks over and speaks up, "Hey, it's Midoriya." Him and a few other moved over to greet him. "Good to see you back, Super." They spoke a bit while 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 watched alongside Shoji and Koda while Ida was nearby, yelling at Tokoyami who had went to sit on his desk. Izuku suddenly spoke up loud enough for the whole class to hear, "Hey, where's Kaken?" 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 pointed with a thumb behind him, gesturing outside as Izuku turned and ran out the door to find him. 𝐀𝐿𝐴 and a few others turned to the window as he spoke softly, "Those two are confusing rivals." Huffs while Shoji and the others nod in agreement while they watch the conversation, when suddenly, All Might arrived to the two, trying to speak to Bakugo, but the boy also just stormed off. Mina spoke up, "I wonder what that was all about." Uraraka speaks next, "The fated battle between rivals." Tsu looked to the two of them and spoke with her croaky voice. Whatever Midoriya was saying, it looked like Bakugo wanted to punch him. Uraraka comments, "Childhood friends turned enemies." 𝐀𝐿𝐴 feels a tap on his shoulder and turned to Kirishima and the others who start talking to him about exchanging numbers. While he was hesitant, he allowed it as everything fades to black. 𝐀𝐿𝐴, "Today, I had my first hero training and won. But this isn't the end. I'm nowhere close to becoming the strongest. Especially with the dangers ahead." A hulking black figure with crimson electricity around it growls in the darkness and a pair of crimson eyes open, followed by a red ember weakly beating in its chest. 𝐀𝐿𝐴 was running up the hill to his school. As usual, he was late to school because of getting a morning hate speech from his mother, the image of her disdainful glare in his mind as she stares at him in 𝐀𝐿𝐴's memory. Her voice echoes out, "Just get out of my face, you cretin." 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 shakes away those thoughts and continues running, only to freeze in his tracks, seeing a large crowd in front of the school gates. Who are these people? The people's ears suddenly twitch as they all look back with glinting eyes, causing 𝐀𝐮𝐿 to shriek in fear and lean back in fear. Why are they looking at me like that? A female reporter shouts out, "Hey, are you from the hero course?" She runs over with the massive crowd following behind, making 𝐀𝐮𝐿's BLD run cold as his face is met with cameras and a mic from the lady. "Answer our questions." 𝐀𝐮𝐿 covers his mouth and his heartbeat quickens. "Get those cameras out of my face." He leans back while the report keeps insisting and they close in further around him, reminding him of those dark figures of his childhood, people around him pointing and laughing. Look at his face. He's weird looking. "You look like a lizard, Tatsuma." Chanting around 𝐀𝐿 as his eyes widen behind his hair, the report speaks. "Hey, answer us. Are you a student of 𝐒𝐮𝐬𝐽𝐻? What's it like being taught by 𝐒𝐿∞? Where is he?" Gasps and leans closer. "Can you get us an interview with him?" 𝐀𝐿 has hyperventilating with his heart beating heavily as a red crackle of electricity dances across his body. Suddenly, a voice comes from behind all of them. "Excuse me." They all turn and make way to reveal 𝐻𝐬𝐽, 𝐀𝐿 immediately running to him as he notices the boy's panicked state and looks to the people. "I would appreciate it if you didn't harass my students." The lad reporter moves over with the crowd behind her. "We just want some answers." She becomes pleading. "Are you a teacher? Can you please get us an interview with 𝐒𝐿∞? Also, you look like a mess. What's your deal?" 𝐻𝐬𝐽 rolls his eyes and looks to 𝐀𝐿, speaking flatly. "Get to class. Everyone's already there. You're starting to become a real problem." 𝐀𝐿 bows and runs off as he looks to the reporter and waves his hand dismissively. "𝐒𝐿∞'s not on campus today. Get out of here already." He turns and walks inside with his hands in his pockets. The reporter lady shouts out behind him, "But my viewers want to know how he's adjusting to life as a teacher." The other people also start yelling and complaining. She frowns and clenches her fists. "All right. If you won't bring 𝐒𝐿∞ out, I'll get him myself." She steps forward. Her cameraman reaches out and shout, "No, hold on." As the lady steps close to the gate, it buzzes with red lights and puts up metal walls all around the wall of the school as she shrieks in terror, "What's happening?" She slowly collapses to her knees as her cameraman walks over to her. "Don't you know about the school's defense systems? This gate is the UA barrier." The lady reporter looks back furiously. "Defenses? It practically killed me." The man points and explains, "Yeah, well, it's designed to stop anyone without a student ID or special pass from entering the campus. Guess it works." The reporter grunts in frustration as he continues, "Apparently there are security sensors like this all over the place." The lady stands up and speaks in fury, "Keeping the public out. This school thinks it's untouchable." Turns to her cameraman, "The least they can do is grant me one interview." She looks away, and that weird-looking kid with the ugly face, all he had to do was answer my questions. Scoffs. Nearby, there was a really shady guy with light gray hair watching from the distance inside you. Same time class, 1A 𝐻𝐬𝐽 stood in front of the class, everyone now in their seats as he takes his place in front of the podium, front and center of the class as he begins to speak, addressing everyone in the beginning. "Decent work on yesterday's combat training, you guys. I saw the video feeds and went over each of your team's results." Looks to Katsuki, Bakugo. "This piques Izuku's interest. You're talented, so don't sulk like a child about your loss, okay?" Bakugo looks away and scoffs under his breath. "Yeah, whatever." 𝐻𝐬𝐽 continues flatly, and Midoriya. Izuku tenses and looks down. "I see the only way you won the match was by messing up your arm again." Izuku looks down. "Work harder. And don't give me the excuse you don't have control over your quirk. That line's already getting old." Izuku clenches his fists and frowns. "You can't keep breaking your body if you're going to be training here, but your quirk will be really useful when you get a handle on it." Izuku looked up and smiled. "So show a little urgency, huh?" Izuku turned determined. "Right." 𝐀𝐿 prepared to be spoke to next, but 𝐻𝐬𝐽 just turned to the front. "Let's get down to business." 𝐀𝐿 sighed and hunched over with a purple haze around him. "Your first task may decide your future." The class thinks in unison. Is it another Quirk test? 𝐻𝐮𝐬𝐴 continued flatly, you all need to pick a class representative. The class thinks in unison again. Oh, it's just normal school stuff. Suddenly, everyone started jumping up and offering themselves to be the class rep except for Draken, who just stared blankly. Draken stared and a thought bubble appeared above his head, his mouth appearing in it. The class rep, are you trying to disgrace our family name? His father then appeared in the bubble. A class representative is a leader, not a failure. Finally Ryuko appeared in it. Brother, are you really the class representative? Let's meet up, we can finally set aside our differences and bond once more. Draken shuddered at all three of those thoughts. He thinks to himself, hell no. Ida's voice suddenly cuts through the chaos. Silence. Everyone please. Everyone looks to him. The class representative's duty is to lead others. That's not something just anyone can do. Everyone looks to him. You must first have the trust of every student in the classroom. Therefore, the most logical way to fill this position is democratically. His right glasses lens went opaque. We will hold an election to choose our leader. It's suddenly revealed that he too has his hand held up high while standing as the class says in unison, it's pretty obvious you want us to vote for you. Denki speaks up with a look of distrust and doubt. Is this really the best idea? Tsu is next to speak up. We've only known each other after a few days. How do we know who we can trust? Kirishima speaks up in agreement. Besides, everyone will just vote for themselves. Ida speaks and explains, most people will, but that means whoever does receive multiple votes must truly be the most suitable person for the job. He yells while looking at 𝐻𝐮𝐬𝐴, it's the best way, right sir? 𝐻𝐻𝐮𝐬𝐴 was wrapped in his sleeping bag as he speaks dryly, do what you want, just decide before my nap is over. He falls over to the side as Ida speaks with gratitude, thank you for your trust. Some time passed after that and everyone had placed their votes. The results were up on the board in front and the ones with the highest votes were Izuku with 3 and Yoearazu with 2. Izuku yells out in shock, how did I get 3 votes? Bakugo stands up and yells out, you idiots. Who voted for him? Draken flinched from the shouting and looked incredibly annoyed while 𝐬𝐿 spoke up, what? Did you really think anyone was gonna vote for you? Bakugo continued shouting and arguing while Uraraka was whistling innocently and Ida was upset over only getting 1 vote. Draken thinks to himself while sitting, I just gave my vote to Ida cause I didn't know who else would fit the role. Looks over while the class questions Ida on his choice to vote for someone else except himself. After, Izuku, who was nervously shaking, was stood in front with Yaoyorozu. 𝐻𝐻𝐿𝐴 spoke up to address the class. Alright, our class rep is Midoriya and our deputy is Yaoyorozu. Draken huffs and looks to his right, catching a staring Aoyama who looks like he's staring into his soul. Draken thinks to himself, honestly, who is this creep? He looks to the front as Izuku is stood doubtful and Yaoyorozu is being condescending as some of the classmates agree with Izuku as the rep later. Lunchtime cafeteria. Draken was sat with Izuku, Uraraka and Ida with some other students of different years. Draken was sat without food next to Ida as usual while the others were eating and talking about the overcrowded cafeteria, but then Izuku spoke up about something bothering him. Guys, I'm kinda worried about the class rep thing. I don't think I'm qualified. Ida kept eating in silence. Uraraka spoke up encouragingly, sure you are. Ida adds, you'll be great. Izuku looks at him curiously as he looks to the latter. Your courage and quick thinking under stress will help make you a worthy leader, not to mention the strength you've demonstrated. He closes his eyes and looks down. Those are the reasons I voted for you at least. Izuku speaks up in surprise, you were one of the 3. Uraraka looks to Ida and speaks, didn't you want to be rep really badly? I mean you do look the part. Cause of the glasses. Draken shakes his head while Izuku tenses up in surprise at the statement. Ida takes a sip of his drink and speaks with closed eyes, wanting a job and being suited for it are quite different things. Observing the Ida family's hero agency has taught me that much. Both Izuku and Ida say in unison, agency. Izuku asks, hold on, what does your family do? Ida tenses, oh it's nothing. Draken speaks with his gaze down, you might as well just tell them since it's out. Ida? Ida gains a sweat drop on his cheek. Uraraka looks to him and leans closer, I've been wondering something about you. She smiles and ball her fists. Admit it, 𝐻𝐻𝐿. You're filthy rich. 𝐻𝐻𝐿 tenses again and looks away, speaking defeatedly. I was afraid people would treat me differently if they knew about my family. Izuku and Uraraka move closer and stare curiously as 𝐻𝐻𝐿 sighs. You see, the 𝐻𝐻𝐿s have been pro-heroes for generations. It runs in our blood. Uraraka and Izuku exclaim in shock and awe as 𝐻𝐻𝐿 continues proudly. Are the two of you familiar with the turbo hero, 𝐮𝐭𝐻𝐿𝐽𝐻? Izuku gains rosy cheeks and leans forward. I know all about him. He's a super popular pro with 65 sidekicks working alongside him at his Tokyo agency. His eyes widen and he speaks in shock. Don't tell me. 𝐻𝐿𝐴 speaks softly. He's Tenya's older brother. Uraraka and Izuku speaks up in shock. Your family's famous. Izuku is next. I can't believe it. 𝐻𝐻𝐿 smiles and pushes his glasses up. 𝐮𝐭𝐻𝐿 is an unmatched commander who honors the hero code. Smiling proudly, as the second oldest 𝐻𝐻𝐿 son, I strive to be just like him. He closes his eyes and cranes his head down. However, I think it might be a bit soon for me to be in a real leadership role. Looks to Izuku with a smile. You, for example, you figured out what the judges were looking for in the practical exam. A rep needs that sort of insight. He pauses and realizes Uraraka speaks up with a smile of her own. That's the first time I've seen you smile, Tenya. You should do it more. 𝐻𝐻𝐿 speaks in confusion. What are you talking about? I smile all the time, right, 𝐻𝐿𝐴? Looks beside him at 𝐻𝐿𝐴, who shakes his head as he looks on in shock. What? You see me smile all the time. Uraraka looks to 𝐻𝐿𝐴. Say, Tatsuma. 𝐻𝐿𝐴 glares at her, his red eyes flashing through his hair. What did I say? 𝐻𝐻𝐿 and Izuku both had tired expressions as they think in unison. Right, he hates that. 𝐻𝐻𝐿 speaks up informatively. It's not you, Uraraka. 𝐻𝐿𝐴 just prefers being addressed by his first name. 𝐻𝐿𝐴 looks down and speaks softly. Just call me 𝐻𝐿𝐴. There's no use calling me by a family name. Uraraka speaks with an apologetic look. Right, sorry. She looks to him. I just wanted to ask about why you're always so expressionless all the time. You just smile and speak up some more, maybe even cut that hair hanging in your face. 𝐻𝐿𝐴 pauses and looks down. Absolutely. All three of them look hopeful. Not. I like the way I look. Izuku suddenly speaks up. 𝐻𝐿𝐴, about your last name. Before he could finish, a belly started to ring loudly through the school, alerting the entire school in the cafeteria as Izuku shouts out, what is that? A voice comes in the PA system. Warning, level 3 security breach. Please evacuate in an orderly fashion. All students please evacuate in an orderly fashion. Some of the students start to run for their lives out of the cafeteria while 𝐻𝐻𝐿 looks to one of the other students beside 𝐻𝐿𝐴. What's a level 3 security breach? The student looks to him. It means that someone's managed to get past the school's barrier. This hasn't happened in my 3 years here. He turns to run. We should get going. He runs off followed by several others, but this results in a massive stampede of people getting stuck in the school's corridor, shoving and crushing each other. 𝐻𝐿𝐴 was squished against Izuku, 𝐻𝐻𝐿 and Uraraka. He grunts while stuck between Izuku and another student. Ugh, this is my worst fear. Gets shoved and continues, mosh pits. Uraraka exclaims in pain, ow. This is a total mob. 𝐻𝐻𝐿 speaks up from behind her. Everyone was quick to react. As I'd expect from UA students. Izuku yells out in fear, sure, but they're also causing a huge panic. He gets shoved and dragged away. 𝐶𝐵. I can't stop. 𝐻𝐻𝐿 and Uraraka called out to him. Before they hear 𝐻𝐿𝐴's huff and look over to see him being absorbed into the crowd, the last thing seen is his thumbs up, which also disappears. 𝐻𝐻𝐿 and Uraraka shout out, 𝐻𝐿𝐴. 𝐻𝐿𝐴 was stuck somewhere in the crowd and was suddenly elbowed in the back of the head, his eyes blacking out momentarily, his scales instinctually forming across his arms as his crimson eyes give off a red crackle and his body a black arc of electricity. This is so annoying. He notices his hands and sees that his scales are more shiny and slick. Huh. That's neat. A voice is heard nearby. 𝐻𝐿𝐴, revealed to be Kirishima and Kaminari. Everyone. Stop freaking out. 𝐻𝐿𝐴 sees the both of them get swept away as he watches with a deadpan look. Suddenly Ida is seen hovering above the entire crowd. Draken watches. What the? Ida suddenly activates his engine and springs across the room, landing on the exit sign and standing in a pose akin to the emergency exit guy. He shouts out to everyone, "Listen up everyone. Everything is okay." Everyone looks to him. It's just the media outside. There's absolutely nothing to worry about. Everything's fine. We're UA students. We need to remain calm and prove that we're the best of the best. Everyone calms down and spaces out, Draken letting out a relieved sigh and shedding his scales as some student noticed the police arriving later. UA High Class 1A Midoriya and 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 were stood in the front of the class while everyone was in their seats, waiting for the class rep to give his verse address to the class and explain what is going to happen in the class. As 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 speaks to him, "It's time, class rep. Let's begin." Izuku was stood with a nervous expression and his body visibly tense as he speaks. "Oh, so we need to figure out who the other class officers will be." He looks down, but first, there's something that I want to say. Momo looks to him with curiosity as he continues, "I've thought a lot about this and I think that Tenya Ida should be our class rep." Ida looks on in shock as Izuku releases the tension in his body and looks down. He was able to catch our attention and get us in line. Looks up and smiles. "So I believe that he should be the one leading our class from now on." Ida looks at him in shock. Kirishima speaks up in agreement. "Yeah, you know what? If Midoriya vouches for him, I'm good." Looks to Kaminari in front of him. "Plus he was a big help. He totally manned up and took charge, right?" Kaminari speaks. "Yeah." Chuckles. "Oh, and did you notice he looked like the dude on the emergency exit signs when he was on the wall earlier?" Aizawa speaks up from the floor in his sleeping bag. "This is a waste of time." Izuku tenses in fear. "I don't care who the rep is, just hurry up." He lays back down to sleep again. Ida closes his eyes and stands up. "If Midoriya is nominating me for this job." He looks up and throws his hand in the air. "Then I humbly accept. I pledge to carry out the duties of class rep to the best of my abilities." Kirishima speaks up with a thumbs up. "Sounds good, emergency exit." Kaminari also speaks lightheartedly. "Emergency exit Ida. Don't let us down, man." Izuku was smiling while 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 had a downturned expression as she mutters under her breath, "How? I got 2 more votes than him." She says in a whiny tone. Nearby in the front seat by the window, Draken looked out to see 4 teachers standing in the far distance by the destroyed UA gate, his leg bobbing up and down as an arc of electricity dances across his form as his nerves won't calm down. From behind him, the blonde-haired boy on the other side of the class keeps a strangely close watch on him. The same day class 1A everyone was sat in the class after all the class rep stuff. Draken was looking down at his desk in thought while Aizawa was stood behind the podium in front of the class as he addressed the class about today's hero training. Aizawa speaks in a dry tone. "Today's training will be a little different. You'll have 3 instructors, me, All Might and another faculty member will be keeping tabs on you." The class made a collective sound of surprise. 𝐬𝐮𝐻 suddenly rose his hand and yelled out, "Sir, what kind of training is this?" Aizawa suddenly held out a card with the word, "Rescue," in blue, "Rescue. You'll be dealing with natural disasters, shipwrecks, stuff like that." The class looked on in awe and excitement as they spoke amongst themselves. Draken spoke up to himself. "Rescue training sounds like a far safer training compared to us killing each other in combat." Bakugo suddenly shouted from behind him, "That's because you're a weakling." Draken looked back with his head tilted in a look that says, "Who are you again?" Making Bakugo's expression turn even more furious. "Don't act like you don't know who I am." Draken thinks to himself, Midoriya's friend is a total weirdo. Bakugo keeps shouting at him while pulling and pushing him over and over. Draken just letting it happen with an expressionless look. Aizawa speaks up, "Guys, I'm not finished yet." The class goes silent in fear. "Whatever you wear in this exercise is up to you. I know you're excited about costumes." Pushes the remote button that releases the hero costumes from the wall. "Keep in mind that you haven't gotten used to them yet and they might limit your abilities." Looks back to the class. "This training's at an off-campus facility, so we're taking a bus to get there." Starts walking for the door. "That all? Start getting ready." 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 moves to go grab his costume case and walks with the others to the locker room. A bit later, locker room 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 was trying to get ready, but 𝐬𝐮 hadn't waited for him and now he had to do it without anyone looking, doing a swift pull off of his shirt and reach for his costume shirt with a huff while 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 watched nearby as the mostly quiet classmate hides his heteromorphic looks with curiosity as he approaches from behind. "Excuse me, Tatsuma." 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 tenses and doesn't turn, his back exposed to his classmate who can see his bony spine running along his back. While he is rather thin, he is also toned. 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 speaks softly. He doesn't know how to go about this. He himself doesn't want 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 to feel bad by covering himself, but he's also uncomfortable to just be standing shirtless like this, so he just spins around. "By the way, just call me 𝐀𝐮." 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 stutters and nods. "Right. I don't mean to intrude, but is there any reason why you cover yourself up? Specifically your heteromorphic features?" 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 doesn't know how to respond to that in the slightest and immediately goes to cover his mouth. He speaks muffled. "It's nothing important. I just prefer not to have everyone look at me." He thinks back to some rather unpleasant memories, depictions of his mother shouting incoherent words at him. "It's better to just look normal." 𝐀𝐮𝐨𝐫 repeats his words softly, "Look normal." He speaks to 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 again. "I see." He notices 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫's hesitance to continue changing and turns, flaring his arms out. "Don't worry, I've got you covered." 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 is shocked at the sudden gesture and nods, turning to get changed as he speaks over his shoulder. "Thanks, 𝐀𝐮𝐨𝐫." One of 𝐀𝐮𝐨𝐫's arms morphs into a grinning mouth. "Don't mention it." After getting changed, everyone was waiting to load the bus. 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 was stood beside 𝐬𝐮, who had been waiting for everyone to arrive after he had basically abandoned him in the locker room. Suddenly, 𝐬𝐮 blew a whistle directly beside 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫's sensitive ears, the boy's crimson eyes widening in his dragon mask. "Was that really necessary?" he says with a side glance to 𝐬𝐮. 𝐬𝐮 nods and speaks seriously. "A whistle is the best way to grab our classmates' attention." He blows it again as 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 twitches. "Everyone listen up. Using your student numbers form 2 uniform lines so we can load the bus efficiently." 𝐬𝐮 starts blowing the whistle constantly as 𝐀𝐮𝐨𝐫 speaks up. "I swear, I wonder how we're friends." Us. Later in the bus, 𝐬𝐮 was sat in the open seating plan, hunched over in distraught while 𝐀𝐮𝐴 sat beside Izuku across from him. "This bus's open layout ruined my boarding strategy," 𝐬𝐮 says as Mina speaks to him lighthearted. "𝐬𝐮, you need to chill." 𝐀𝐮𝐴 replies to that with a nod. "I've been telling him that for the past 4 years. 𝐒𝐮𝐿 speaks with her usual flat expression. "If we're pointing out the obvious, there's something I want to say." Looks to Izuku. "About you actually." Izuku's eyes widen and his cheeks go rosy. "About me, what is it, 𝐒𝐮𝐿?" 𝐒𝐮𝐿 corrects him. "I told you to call me 𝐬𝐿." Izuku looks down apologetically. "Oh yeah, right." 𝐬𝐿 continues, her mouth tilted more up in a sort of smile. "That power of yours, isn't it a lot like All Might's?" That makes Izuku tense up and shriek as he tries to speak in a thankful tone. "Really, you think so? I never really thought about that." Looks to 𝐀𝐮𝐴 next to him as he starts talking pointlessly. Kirishima butts in. "Wait, hold on. 𝐬𝐿, you're forgetting All Might doesn't hurt himself. That makes a huge difference." Smiles at Izuku, who seems calmer now. "Still, it's cool to have a simple augmenting type of quirk. You can do a lot of flashy stuff with it." Lifts his arm. "My hardening's super good to destroy bad guys in a fight, but it doesn't look all that impressive." His arm hardens. Izuku leans forward and speaks up in disagreement. "No way, I think it's awesome looking. You're definitely pro-material with a quirk like that." Kirishima smiles humbly. "You really think so? I feel like it'd be easier to be a popular hero if I had something flashier." 𝐀𝐮𝐴 was staring at the ever-staring 𝐒𝐿𝐼𝐻 with a weirded-out look in his crimson eyes. 𝐒𝐿𝐼𝐻 speaks with his eerie smile. "My naval laser is the perfect combination of flash and strength." Mina puts a hand on his shoulder and speaks sweetly. "But it's way lame if it gives you a stomachache, sweetie." 𝐒𝐿𝐼𝐻's face goes sickly as he looks off. Kirishima smiles and looks to the back of the bus. "Well, if there's anyone in our class with pro quirks, it's Todoroki and Bakugo." Bakugo perks up and looks away, trying to act cool. 𝐬𝐿 keeps her hands on her knees as she speaks blankly. "Sure, but Bakugo's always angry, so he'll never be that popular. Izuku is shocked while Bakugo gains a tick and jumps up from his seat, shouting at her, "What did you say? I'll kick your butt." Draken speaks up, point proven. Bakugo growls while he continues, "I don't even think you do well with criticism from a preschooler, Bakugo." Shrugs. Bakugo growls and shout out, "You lizard bee, I'll blow you to bits." Kaminari speaks to him mockingly, "You know, we recently just met you, so it's kinda telling that we already know your personality is flaming CRP mixed with garbage." He says with a smirk. Bakugo is shaking with rage as he looks to Kaminari and shouts, "I'll make you regret the day you applied to this school, you loser." Ida and Bakugo start going at it while Draken huffs triumphantly while Izuku was sitting in shock. Aizawa speaks up sternly, "We're here. Stop messing around." The class speaks up, "Yes, sir." Bakugo speaks defiantly, "Whatever." When they arrived at a massive dome-like structure, everyone grouped outside the bus. Before them was a hero dressed in an astronaut-like hero costume. They speaks in an upbeat tone, "Hello everyone. I've been waiting for you." The whole class becomes excited and others naming the hero as the space hero. 13, mainly Izuku, who fanboys over her while Uraraka shows her excitement to see her favorite hero as the whole class says in unison, "This is gonna be awesome." They all go inside the building, standing atop a massive staircase overlooking the enormous space with various terrains and structures inside, looking like an amusement park. Kirishima speaks up, "Holy seal. It looks like some kind of amusement park." 13 speaks informatively while gesturing to the various terrains, a shipwreck, landslide, a fire, a windstorm, etc. Spreads their arms out while facing away. "I created this training facility to prepare you to deal with different types of disasters. I call it the Unforeseen Simulation Joint." Points out, "But you can call it T." The class thinks in unison, just like Universe Studios Japan. Aizawa walks over to talk with 13, the teachers having a private conversation as Izuku tries to listen in. Aizawa then turns to the class and speaks sternly, "The clock's ticking, we should get started." 13 speaks enthusiastically, "Excellent. Before we begin, let me just say one thing, well, maybe two things, possibly 3 or 4 or 5. The class says, "We get it," in unison with a purple haze around them before 13 lifts their hand and speaks seriously, "Listen carefully, I'm sure you're aware that I have a powerful quirk, it's called Black Hole. I can use it to SCK up anything and turn it into dust." Izuku speaks while Uraraka nods profusely, "Yeah, you've used Black Hole to save people from all kinds of disasters before, haven't you?" 13 assures him, "That's true, but my quirk can also easily be used to kill." This sparks caution and curiosity within the students as 13 continues, "Some of you also have powers that can be dangerous. In our superhuman society, all quirks are certified and strictly regulated, so we often overlook how unsafe they can actually be. Please don't forget that if you lose focus and make the wrong move, your powers can be deadly." The class looks on seriously, even if you're doing something virtuous like saving someone. Thanks to Aizawa's fitness tests, you have a solid idea of your quirk's potential, and All Might's combat training has given you experience on the true dangers of your quirk when used against other people. Carry those lessons over to this class. Today, you're going to learn how to use your quirks to save people's lives. The class is still ever serious. You won't use your powers to attack enemies or each other, only to help. After all, that is what being a hero is all about, ensuring the safety of others. Draken scratches his mask where his cheek is. 13 talks a lot. 13 takes a bow, "That's all I have to say, thank you so much for listening." The class cheers and claps. Aizawa speaks up, "Right, now that that's over." Before he could finish, the lights around the dome suddenly go out and arc, Draken's own body arcing as his attention is caught by something in the far distance at the center of the facility, his pupils narrowing to slits as he points, "Is that part of our training?" Aizawa and 13 turn to see it as well, the rest of the class looking on in confusion as the teach shouts out, "Stay together, ain't move." He looks to stands defensively, 13, "Protect the students." Everyone looked where Draken was and Kirishima yells out, "What is that thing?" Steps forward trying to get a closer look, "Wait, has the training started already? I thought we were rescuing people." Izuku tries to step forward as well, but Aizawa shouts out loudly, stay back. It catches everyone off guard as he puts his goggles up on his eyes. This is real. Those are villains. The class gasps in shock and disbelief, all of them standing still with fear filling the air while 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 takes a step to the back in worry. At the same time everyone was still stood in shock and fear. The last of the villains had stepped out of the strange black mass and 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 felt his heart beating 1,000 times a second as he stepped back with a gulp. His crimson eyes widened in the sockets of his mask. 𝐻𝐿𝐴 stepped forward and spoke resolutely. So, you scumbags used the press as a cover and snuck into campus. There was an entire army of villains in the facility now as 𝐻𝐿𝐴's scarves unraveled and floated up along with his hair. Kirishima spoke in disbelief. What? Real villains? No way. He was sweating a bit. How could so many of them get into a UA facility this secure? Yaoyorozu came forward between Iida and 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫. Yeah, 13, why aren't the alarms going off? 13 gazed up. Good question, I'm not sure. Iida and Momo gasped slightly while Dragon frowns. Aren't you the teacher? How can you not know? He felt a sinking feeling from this, a red crackle dancing across his hands. Todoroki speaks up. Is the entire campus under attack? Or is this their only target? His face remains stern. Either way, if the alarms haven't been triggered, then one of these villains has a quirk that's masking their presence here. He continues to explain. They carefully chose this isolated facility as a point of entry when a class was being taught. They're fools for trespassing here, but they've thought this out. Whatever their plan, they must have a concrete objective in mind. But what is it? The class grows even more worried and fearful at this. 𝐀𝐮𝐿𝐴 looks back and speaks up bluntly. Thanks for the rant, but that doesn't really help us, man. He says it loud enough for the whole class to hear as Todoroki's expression darkens. The whole class thinks in unison. Is now really the time? They have a purple haze over them. 𝐻𝐿𝐴 walked up in front of the class and 13, get them out of here and alert the main campus. Actually, if they've got the ability to block our sensors, then they might be jamming our regular communications too. He speaks to the back of him. Kaminari, try using your quirk to contact the school. Kaminari perks up and puts a hand to his large device on his ear. Yes, sir. He starts trying to contact, before Izuku yells out worriedly, what are you gonna do? You can't fight on your own, there's too many of them. Even if you can nullify their quirks, your fighting style's not suited for this. Your power works best in stealth and one-on-one fights. Looks down, that's not gonna help with a group. 𝐻𝐿𝐴 looks over his shoulder. You can't be a pro if you only have one trick. Izuku looks at him in surprise as he hunches over. I'll leave it to you, 13. He takes a leap off the massive staircase, reaching the bottom quickly as he immediately charges the frontliners of the villain group, only to take down 3 of them at once with his scarves. 𝐀𝐮𝐿𝐴 looked down in awe. Badass. The others can see him take down villain after villain with ease while Izuku is by 𝐀𝐮𝐿𝐴's side as he speaks in surprise. Whoa, he's holding them off. I guess I shouldn't have underestimated him. 𝐀𝐮𝐿𝐴 nods in agreement as Iida and Shoji shouts from behind both him and 𝐀𝐮𝐿𝐴 as the rest of the class runs. This is no time to be analyzing, we have to go. Shoji sprouts a mouth on one of his arms. 𝐀𝐮𝐿𝐴, Midoriya, we need to move now. 𝐀𝐮𝐿𝐴 and Izuku turn, both running to catch up and escape the USJ. Unfortunately, before they could reach the doors, the black mass from earlier suddenly appeared before them, stopping the group in their tracks. Surprisingly, the black mass spoke in a deep voice. There is no escape for you. Everyone looked up at the towering mass as he spoke menacingly. It's a pleasure to meet you. We are the League of Villains. I know it's impolite, but we decided to invite ourselves into this haven of justice to say hello, and besides, isn't this a fitting place for All Might, the symbol of peace, to take his last breath? Some of class perk up in shock at this. I believe he was supposed to be here today, and yet I see no sign of him. There must have been some sort of change in plans we could not have foreseen. Ah well, I suppose it doesn't matter, I still have a role to play. His shadowy body starts to grow suddenly. 13 puts their hand out to attack, but she stops herself, seeing Kirishima and Bakugo charge in stupidly, both attacking the villain as it causes a smoke cloud that quickly clears as the smoke guy speaks. You live up to your reputation, but you should be more careful, children, otherwise you'll get hurt. His glowing yellow eyes narrow. 13 shouts out, you too. Get out of the way, right now. The shadow villain calls out, I'll scatter you across this facility to meet my comrades and your deaths. His shadowy body spreads out around them, encircling them in a massive dome. 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 grunts and steps back. The hell. 𝐬𝐻𝐿 dashes in, grabbing 𝗧𝗓𝗪 and 𝗧𝗏 while 𝗀𝐿 tries to grab 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 along with 𝗀𝗏 and 𝗀𝗏. 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫. The latter screams loudly and is consumed by the shadows. No. Elsewhere still, a black warp hole appears above a shipwreck, a scream coming from it as 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 bursts out and falls down, landing with his front on the ship's railing as he groans and slides down it to the deck. He sits up and sighs, what happened? Looks around and stands up, before he hears a high-pitched scream and looks over to see 𝗀𝗏𝗪 falling out a portal as well. 𝗀𝗏𝗪. The boy falls into the water and 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 doesn't see him surface for a while. Oh CRP. He's drowning. He goes to jump in the water, but suddenly, something green bursts out of the water from below, revealed to be 𝐻𝐿, carrying 𝗀𝗏𝗪 and 𝗀𝗏𝗪, who she drops on deck. He moves to 𝐒𝐮𝐭𝐻𝐿, are you okay? 𝐒𝐮𝐻𝐿 was on his back and sat up, yeah. 𝗀𝗀𝗪 was slammed onto the deck as 𝗧𝗏 climbed on deck, 𝐒𝐮𝐻𝐿 looking to her, you saved my life, 𝐻𝐿. 𝐻𝐿 speaks bluntly, I told you to call me, 𝗬𝗏. 𝐒𝐮𝐻𝐿 frantically tried to recover while 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 and 𝗀𝗀𝗪 watched. 𝗬𝗏 speaks up again with an exhale, this is turning out to be a terrible day of class. 𝐒𝐮𝐻𝐿 nods in agreement. Yeah, I keep thinking about what that villain said. Thinks back to the villain's words about All Might and speaks with a frown, they knew our whole schedule and who would be here. They must have gotten into school files while we were all stuck in the cafeteria. And teachers were busy trying to get the media off school grounds. Looks to 𝐀𝐮𝐿, that means they were waiting for the perfect time to attack, just like Todoroki said they were. 𝗀𝗀𝗪 suddenly shout out, his arms bumping the air, hey, hold on a second. You don't really think these guys can kill All Might? He turns and punches the air, once he shows up, he'll P&D these villains until there's nothing left. He said determined while 𝐀𝐮𝐿 nods in agreement. 𝗬𝗏 suddenly spoke up, think about it though. All three boys look to her, if the villain spent so much time planning this attack, then they probably figured out a way to kill him. 𝐒𝐮𝐻𝐿 gasps softly as she continues talking to 𝗀𝗀𝗪, and remember what that smoke guy said, maybe we should worry more about not getting tortured to death. 𝗀𝗀𝗪 was listening with a traumatized look, we might not survive long enough to see All Might again. And even if he does show up, who knows if he'll make it out in one piece. 𝗀𝗀𝗪 is sweating as he grabs 𝐀𝐮𝐿's cloak and shakes him by it while shouting, no, the pros are gonna save us, right? Tell Frog Melons to shut up. 𝐀𝐮𝐿 yells out while being shaken, why me? 𝗬𝗏 turns and makes a surprised rib bit. 𝐀𝐮𝐿 grabs 𝗀𝗀𝗪's arms and huffs. Let's just calm down, okay? You all saw how Aizawa was taking down these guys, they can't even beat him, how can they stop All Might? Everything's gonna be perfectly fine. Just then, villains start closing in around the ship and 𝐀𝐮𝐿 deadpants, I should have shut up. 𝗀𝗀𝗪 shrieked in terror, bad guy yes. The ship was surrounded as 𝐀𝐮𝐿 thought to himself, so they did send their comrades. He forms his scales as they tighten to his skin, I could use my new technique, but I'd be drained, I can't make myself a burden to 𝗀𝗪𝗪 and the other two. Flashback last week 𝐀𝐮𝐿 is seen training at 𝐬𝐻𝐿's home, using his scales on his fists to punch the dummies 𝐬𝐻𝐿 had on his training ground, but while doing so, he paused and sheathed his scales, letting out a huff of steam from his mouth. 𝐬𝐻𝐿 was in the background doing laps. Before he stops to check on 𝐀𝐮𝐿 who form a new set of scales on his right arm, he takes a sip from his water bottle. 𝐀𝐮𝐿, are you alright? 𝐀𝐮𝐿's right arm suddenly starts to glow a vibrant red with black electricity arcing off of it. What's this? 𝐀𝐮𝐿 turns and looks to his hand, I've been testing this for a bit. Looks to 𝐬𝐻𝐿 as the tension in his scales suddenly releases with a blast of air, his scales shedding as he drops down with a continuous flow of steam from his mouth as he speaks with strain, but it's still a work in progress. 𝐬𝐻𝐿 runs over, are you okay? 𝐀𝐮𝐿 sits up and coughs, what was that just now? I've never seen something like that before. 𝐀𝐮𝐿 looks to his hand, seeing the last few scales drop off as he looks down to speak. When I tense my scales, it accumulates energy beneath them, but it wastes a whole set of scales and tires me out completely. 𝐬𝐻𝐿 nods, I see. He looks closer and sees the electricity dance across his body. It's like that current I've seen before. I never understood what it was. He puts his hand to his chin in thought. 𝗏𝗏𝗏 speaks up. I think my body stores energy that allows my scales to form. He looks to his hand. By tensing my scales against my skin, it's almost like I draw that energy out. He tries forming scales again, but they only poke out slightly with another arc of electricity, but it drains me completely for a long time. 𝗏𝗏𝗏 nods. Have you ever considered your quirk's classification? I know you said it's almost like a transformation type quirk that allows you to grow scales, but it doesn't account for the presented energy unless it accumulates it automatically. 𝗏𝗏𝗏 nods. He stands and clenches his fist, but now it gives me an advantage. I'm learning so many things my quirk could do, and now I can be stronger. I can do this. He looks up at 𝗏𝗏 and gives him a nod. 𝗏𝗏 smiles and tilts his head. I'm glad your drive is growing. Let us continue our training then. He turns. You have laps to do. 𝗏𝗏𝗏 sighs and chases after him as he runs off using his quirk. Present-day 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 shipwreck zone. When 𝗏𝗏𝗏 came to from his thoughts, seeing 𝗬𝗏 and 𝐼𝐼𝐻𝐼𝐻 watching over the railing, and 𝗧𝗜𝗍𝗍 suddenly spoke up, his tone filled with determination and resolve out of nowhere as they all look over to him. If they can beat him, then we need to stop whatever it is these bad guys are planning. We have to work together and keep All Might safe. No one at UA knows what's happening. This is up to us. Let's be heroes. 𝗏𝗏𝗏 clenches his fist and nods in agreement. 𝗏𝗏𝗏 immediately shouts out in fear with tears in his eyes. Huh? What do you mean fight? Are you crazy? These guys might be able to kill All Might, and you think we can take them? Did you hit your head when we got warped here? He grabs 𝗏𝗏𝗏's cloak again. Please, Tatsuma, tell him he's stupid. 𝗏𝗏𝗏 huffs and glares, making 𝗏𝗏𝗏 wail out in fear. 𝗧𝗜𝗍𝗍 ignores and talks. Think about it. Those villains down there are clearly advantaged in the water and assume that's where we'll fight. 𝗏𝗏𝗏 shouts out from behind him. Are you even listening to me? 𝗏𝗏𝗏 flicks him on the forward. Shush. 𝗏𝗏𝗏 holds his forehead while whining incoherent words which are just ignored by the other three, before 𝗬𝗏 speaks with an analytical tone. If that's the case, they must have known what was inside the USJ before they warped in. 𝗧𝗜𝗍𝗍 speaks in agreement. Yeah, they made careful planning. He continues in thought. There's one thing that sticks out to me, something that just doesn't add up. Looks to 𝗬𝗏. They sent you here, 𝗏𝗏𝗏. Tenses and steps back as 𝗬𝗏 makes a rib-bit sound. Oops. 𝗏𝗏𝗏. Yeah, they warped you to the shipwreck zone. She turns to him fully as 𝗏𝗏𝗏 walks closer, dragging 𝗏𝗏𝗏 by his collar. That kind of fell apart on you, didn't it? 𝗧𝗜𝗍𝗍 slumps over and speaks in agreement. A little bit. 𝗏𝗏𝗏 pops in and shouts again. But why does it matter that she's here? 𝗏𝗏𝗏 lifts him with one hand and speaks knowledgeably. 𝗬𝗏's quirk makes her super fast and agile in the water. Why would they send her to a place covered in water? Points down below. Why would any smart hero put their enemy in a position where they have an advantage? 𝗬𝗏 makes a rib-bit sound and speaks up. You've got a point. Looks to the fire-painted dome. If they knew I was a frog, they would have sent me into that fire zone over there, instead of somewhere full of water. 𝗏𝗏𝗏 speaks up again as they look down into the water. Their plan was to divide and conquer, but with little knowledge of what our quirks and abilities are, they basically picked at straws. Looks to 𝗧𝗜𝗍𝗍. We can use that against them. Points back into the water. None of them are making moves. It shows they're unsure of what we can and will do. But it also means they aren't underestimating us. They're playing it safe for now. His looks among them. We should plan our next move before that isn't the case. 𝗬𝗏 crouches and they all follow suit as she speaks up. So, let's talk quirks. I'll go first if you want. Obviously I can jump really high and cling to pretty much any wall, and of course there's my tongue. I can stick it out about 20 meters. She continues bluntly. Oh, and I can spit out my stomach so I can clean it. That's not really useful. Finally, I secrete a toxic mucus. It just stings a bit. 𝗏𝗏𝗏 stares with a blush. We can probably only use my jumping and my tongue here. Forget about the last things. 𝗧𝗜𝗍𝗍 speaks straightforwardly. I figured you were powerful, but that's amazing. Ball his fist and looks at it. I have my super strength, but it comes at a price. Once I use it, I'm pretty much out of commission. It's a double-edged sword until I can control it. Mineta reaches up and plucks a purple ball from his head. I've got these sticky ball. He places the ball on the boat wall and pats his hand on it. Their strength varies. Depending on how I'm feeling, they might stick to something a whole day. They grow back as fast as I can pull them off, but I'll bleed if I use too many. He stops patting it. Oh, and they don't stick to me, I can just bounce right off them. There's a long pause. Izuku is frowning while staring at Haim while Tsu and Draken are blank, causing him to tear up and start bawling. Don't look at me like that. This is why I said we should wait for the real heroes. My quirk is totally unfit for battle and we're gonna die. Izuku speaks up while waving his hands, trying to calm him. No, you have an incredibly power, we just need to figure out how to use it. Tsu looks to Draken and points. She speaks in a blank tone. And what about you? Tatsuma. I know you have scales, but it would be better if we knew more. Draken gains a rosy hue on his mask and scratched the side of it while looking away. The three of them think in unison. He's acting like a flustered schoolgirl. Draken exhales and looks up to explain. My quirk allows me to form black dragon scales on my body, but with that I have enhanced strength, speed and senses. Sadly it makes me look abnormal. He forms scales around his arm and hand. Their strength and durability depend on how long I use and form them, and I have to shed them when they take too much damage. Tsu speaks up bluntly. No wonder you're so quick against Bakugo and Ida, you're kind of a superhuman, Tatsuma. Draken waves his hand dismissively while looking away. Suddenly, one of the villains use their quirk and cause a powerful torrent of water to slice through the boat, causing them to sway and stumble as they start to sink. That's a great power. Now the ship is sinking. Mineta runs to the edge and start to panic. Throw his ball. Izuku yells out, wait, don't panic. Mineta sees the ineffectiveness of his ball and points while crying and looking at Izuku. You gotta calm down. He moves to the end of the boat and notices the villain's wariness for the ball as Draken looks as well. Draken speaks while pointing. Look, they're scared of Mineta's ball. He frowns. I've got an idea. Izuku looks to him and nods. Are you thinking what I'm thinking? Draken speaks with a stern tone. Yeah, but we'll need your super strength and Tsu's jumping power. Looks to Mineta. And you, Mineta, you're the key of this plan. Mineta's tears stop and he looks up at Draken in awe as he began to explain his plan. Short time after, while the villains were waiting for the boat to sink, Izuku stepped onto the end rail of the boat and jumped over with a battle cry as he gripped his wrist and shouted out, now die. The water quirk villain was about to attack, but Izuku suddenly used his quirk in his finger and released a super strength flick from it, a powerful blast of air pressure drilling the water's surface and creating a deep whirlpool. Draken looks to Tsu, who wrapped her tongue around him, and Mineta, let's go. Tsu jumps off, her powerful tongue dragging Mineta and Draken along as the latter grabs Izuku midair while Mineta throws his sticky ball into the water, the whirlpool swirling them around together, sticking all the villains together as they reach the bottom of the water where it rushes back in and splashed several feet into the air. Tsu speaks up. You guys are pretty amazing. Looks to Draken, smart thinking, Tatsuma. Draken huffs with rosy dots showing on his mask while the stuck villains fall from the water spire and land back in the water, unable to break free as the four students escape unscathed.